Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, it's Dave Neal here, stand-up comic host of the Rush Hour podcast, and we got the popcorn out. We've got a lot of work to do. We will be diving through the Candace Owens, Brigitte Macron lawsuit. Let me make sure I got my chat open. Hello, everyone. Good to see a lot of friendly faces out there. We got the moderators in the chat. I just want to remind folks of the ground rules here. There is only respect in our comment section, only respect. Not really here to ban anybody, just saying it's all love. I have the utmost grace for people that are Team Candace Owens, and I have utmost grace for the people that aren't. Everyone came to their conclusion based on the information they have, and that's life. But what we now have is a 200 plus page document. Let me ask you guys, am I rendering okay? It looks a little choppy on my end. I'm going to try to delete some things as we get going here. Yeah, we've got a boatload of content to get through. I'll spend a couple minutes just on the intros, and then we will dive right in. I'm expecting, I'll leave my phone out. I'm expecting we'll have a couple of our friends join us here today. They've got the info. Actually, you know what? I just realized they don't. So give me a second as I send. I had one job. And that was to get this to the right people. But we're going to do it right now. And we might have some celebrity guests. You never know who's going to show up here. But I tell you what, you got me. And that should be enough. But maybe it's not. So the link has been sent to Bruce and Lauren. Megan has it. And if we have some friends help me with this, that'll be fantastic. It's a little choppy. Is the sound okay? I just deleted all other things that I had up on my computer. You know, I run a hell of a lot of, I got 3 cameras going. I got the Chirons go. It's a mess, but it's Saturday night, folks, and we are live on YouTube. I'm going to dive right into it. Why wait? So again, keep it kind in the comment section. If you're not, maybe you'll get put into a friendly timeout. Maybe you won't. That's okay. We appreciate free speech, but we also appreciate a little love here. So if you're new, you might realize, hey, we actually got a pretty awesome crowd, and we're going to be respectful. Hey, we already have a couple super chats rolling in. Dave, you're always enough for me. Wow. Hey, easy. There we go, folks. Very nice. Appreciate it. Let's dive into the conversation here. Let me see how I do this. Getting kind of new to it. So do you prefer me on the big screen and probably me on the little screen? Here it is. Filed just last week. Emmanuel Macron, president of France, and Brigitte Macron, the first lady of France. Candace Owens alleges that Brigitte Macron might be Emmanuel's father. We'll get into it. Versus Candace Owens LLC, and George Tom Inc. Complaint. In March 2024, Candace Owens, a right-wing podcaster, told the world she would stake her entire professional reputation on the fact that Brigitte Macron, the First Lady of France, is in fact a man. Since then, Owens has used this false statement to promote her independent platform, gain notoriety, and make money. Owens disregarded all credible evidence disproving her claim in favor of platforming known conspiracy theorists and proven defamers. And rather than engage with President and Mrs. Macron's attempts to set the record straight, Owens mocked them and used them as additional fodder for her frenzied fan base. Now, if you guys have been following Candace Owens, she made the claim that they never provided her any evidence. This is where it's already interesting. Who's lying? Again, if anyone wants to leave a comment with any information that would prove otherwise or what you think of the case, please feel free to share it. I'm not trying to exploit this in any way whatsoever, but I do believe this will be one of the bigger First Amendment defamation lawsuits of our time. It's really the first one that has a head of state suing a journalist. And I don't blame them if they feel like she's been defamed. I don't blame them one bit. Some folks have said this lawsuit might go straight to the Supreme Court because it's ahead of a country. Again, we'll have to see. Right now, it's in Delaware. Owens did not stop there, retaliating against the Macrons for the audacity of sending her a retraction demand. Owens helmed an 8-part podcast series entitled Becoming Brigitte. and accompanying ex post. Throughout the series, Owens and her entities, Candace Owens LLC and George Tom Inc., endorsed, repeated, and published a series of verifiably false and devastating lies about the Macrons, on which this complaint is based. These outlandish, defamatory, and far-fetched fictions included that Mrs. Macron was born a man, stole another person's identity, and transitioned to become Brigitte. Mrs. Macron and President Macron are blood relatives committing incest. President Macron was chosen to be the president of France as part of the CIA-operated MKUltra program, or a similar mind control program. And Mrs. Macron and President Macron are committing forgery, fraud, and abuses of power to conceal these secrets. So there will be words that are used in this court reading. I'm going to try my best to get those words across without saying them, because YouTube, in fact, I actually just got demonetized again from TikTok just for covering the humanitarian crisis in the Middle East. So forgive me that there'll be words like PDF file, and things like that I'll use just to keep in the good graces, because why, what's the point of saying the words that it's just going to shut us down? So anyhow, these claims are demonstrably false, and Owens knew they were false when she published them, yet she published them anyway. So already we're getting something interesting, because in the past, folks have said, well, Brigitte Macron never said she wasn't born a man. Well, now she's saying this is all false. So she's clearing it up on paragraph 3 that this is all false. Leo said there is a world where Brigitte proves she's a woman and where Candace ends up not getting in trouble. Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. For that, Candace will have to win on the actual malice, prove that she thought she was telling the truth. We'll have to see how that goes. But yeah, and again, that would be a win for Brigitte Macron if she, in a sense, it wouldn't be a full win. So yeah, there it is. This is nothing new for Owens. She has built a brand on provocation, not truth. Owens labels herself as an independent investigative journalist while routinely peddling misinformation under the guise of legitimate reporting. She has promoted a range of conspiracy theories, including anti-vaccine falsehoods, long debunked anti-Semitic tropes such as blood libel and Holocaust distortion, going so far as to dismiss the atrocities of Joseph Mengel's medical experiments as mere propaganda. Her content is not intended to inform, but to inflame and attract attention through sensationalism and conspiracy theories. Owens published the series and related Twitter posts with reckless disregard for the truth. Owens was repeatedly presented with credible, verifiable evidence disproving her claims, including documentation, public records, and direct outreach from the Macrons. Instead of correcting the record, she doubled down. At the time, Mrs. Macron had won French defamation claims against others who pushed these same baseless theories, underscoring both their falsity and defamatory sting. Owens knew this, yet Owens, fully aware of the truth, has not only declined to retract her statements, but has actively expanded on them. So what the Macrons don't tell you is that those defamation cases they won were overturned on appeal. Although what Candace Owens doesn't tell you is they were overturned on appeal, not because the court believed that she was born a man, but because it's not considered defamation to, misgender somebody, and some other technical reasons. So both sides are sharing just morsels of the truth here. These lies have caused tremendous damage to the Macrons. Defendants have subjected the Macrons to a campaign of global humiliation, turning their lives into fodder for profit-driven lies. Owens has dissected their appearance, their marriage, their friends, their family, and their personal history, twisting it all into a grotesque narrative designed to inflame and degrade. The result is relentless bullying on a worldwide scale. Every time the Macrons leave their home, they do so knowing that countless people have heard and many believe these vile fabrications. It is invasive, dehumanizing, and deeply unjust. Faced with this relentless and unjustified smear campaign, the Macrons are left with no choice but to seek relief through the court to set the record straight, prevent further harm, and hold defendants accountable for their conduct. Jam said, so Dave is talking about Laura Owens and Candace Owens. I'll mix up their names for sure. Yeah, lots of Owens on the docket, folks. Lots of Owens on the docket. Separate cases, both in legal trouble. Parties and relevant non-parties. Plaintiff Emmanuel Macron is a French citizen. President Macron has been the president of France depuis I won't speak French. 2017. Depuis means since. Okay. Prior to being elected, President Macron served as Minister of Economics, Industry, and Digital Affairs and Deputy Secretary General to the President. Prior to being elected, President Trump was a reality TV show host. Okay, different story. Donate. President Macron married Brigitte Macron in 2007. Plaintiff Brigitte Macron is a French citizen, the spouse of the current president of France and a woman. Okay, so this is where they just get to the very basic truths. She was born Brigitte Trogneau in Amiens, France on April 13th, 1953. She is the youngest of 6 children. She gave birth to 3 children from her first marriage to André Louis Alzier. Mrs. Macron is a former teacher. In 2007, she married Emmanuel Macron when he was 4 years old. No, we'll get into the age gap. Defendant Candace Owens is a citizen of the United States and resident and domiciliary of the state of Tennessee. Limitless said Dave is clearly compromised. Oh, come on, folks. Come on. Anyone who knows me knows that's not true. Defendant Candace, don't degrade me that early in the episode, folks. Give me a shot. Dave is compromised. The French got to me. I had a baguette this morning. Defendant Candace Owens is a citizen of the United States and resident. Okay, I already got that. Through her marriage to George Thomas Stale Farmer, a British citizen, Owens also holds British citizenship. Owens is considered a political commentator and is a self-described conservative. Owens hosts a podcast called Candace, which is published on Owens' Twitter account by Candace Owens LLC on CandaceOwens.com, by George Tom Inc., and across various other platforms. Weird they don't mention YouTube. Owens is a member and the sole manager of Defendant Candace Owens LLC. Owens maintains control of Defendant George Tom Inc. Defendant Candace Owens LLC is a limited liability company organized under the laws of the state of Delaware with its headquarters in Nashville, Tennessee. See, this is what's interesting. When Candace was on Tucker Carlson, she said she got sued in Delaware, and Tucker Carlson said, that's weird, and Candace didn't explain that her company is organized in Delaware. That's where it's, anyway. Candace Owens is that's what I'm talking about. Like, you got to be careful. You got to get all the truths out there. Candace Owens is the sole manager of Candace Owens LLC. The company manages Owens' Facebook and Twitter accounts, and Owens oversees and directs all content published on her social media account. She disseminated her false and defamatory statements through Candace Owens LLC. Candace Owens LLC is a pass-through entity named after Owens, which is solely controlled and managed by her. It is a legal entity through which Owens operates and manages her social media accounts. Owens has primary control over the management of Candace Owens LLC. Someone just said they're not British citizens. No, Candace and her husband are. The president of France is a citizen of France. It's weird how, what a coincidence. Defendant George Tom is a registered for-profit corporation organized under the laws of the state of Delaware with its headquarters in Nashville, Tennessee. Owens made false and defamatory statements on her podcast, Candace, published them on her website, CandaceOwens.com, which is operated by George Tom Owens oversees and directs all content that's George Tom publishes on CandaceOwens.com. All right, so just the specifics. Now, and by the way, if there are any redundancies, I will skip over them. We're going to see a lot of moments where they bring up the same sort of evidence, and we'll get through it the first time, then we'll pass through it. Non-party Jean-Michel Trogneau is the older brother of Brigitte Macron. Sure. Jean-Michel was born in Amiens, France on February 11th, 1945, and he still lives there today. While born during World War II, these people be old. Am I right? Jam says, maybe we need to send baguettes instead of breadstick money. Oh, yeah. No, this is totally, we're switching from breadsticks to baguettes. We are totally on board with that. And by the way, thank you so much to Brian. Says, I watched an earlier video you made on this subject. You have a rational narrative. Well, thank you so much. That's the name of the game, right? We are here to stress test Candace Owens' allegations, right? She's made some lofty allegations. We're not here to sip the Kool-Aid. If there's any truth to it, it will rise up in court. Otherwise, she's going to owe a lot of money. And that's fine. We're going to be doing just fine. We got that baguette money coming in. So we're all carbo load up. I actually have, if you didn't know this, I don't know if you guys could see this. I've actually got popcorn. So once I'm joined, I know people don't like it when you eat on camera, but it is a Saturday night. So a boy's got to live a little bit. You know what I mean? All right, here we go. Non-party Xavier Poussard is an investigative journalist and editor of La Lettre de Xavier Poussard, which means the letter of Xavier Poussard. I know, my French is great. He was a part owner of Fait et Documents, which means do's and documents, I think, a confidential newsletter that publishes false and defamatory claims regarding plaintiffs similar to those stated by defendant. Owens claims the writings by Xavier Poussard inspired her false and defamatory claims. Poussard is Owens' primary source. Non-party Natasha Ray is an investigative journalist who has also spread the same false and defamatory claims about the Macrons. Ray originated the claims in France. As a result, Mrs. Macron prosecuted a libel case in France against both Natasha Ray and Amandine Roy. Ray is a key source for Owens and Poussard. Non-party Amandine Roy is a self-proclaimed spiritual medium who interviewed Ray in 2021 for a since-deleted YouTube video. In 2021, in a 4-hour interview, Roy and Ray broadcast false defamatory claims regarding Mrs. Macron, which prompted her libel claim in France. Roy is a leading source for Owens E. Poussard. Jurisdiction. This court has subject matter jurisdiction over this civil action, and the venue is proper in this court under Delaware law. This court has personal jurisdiction over defendant Candace Owens under Delaware law in the Due Process Clause of the United States Constitution. Because she manages an LLC formed under Delaware law and the claims relate to the business of the LLC, defendant Owens is a manager of Candace Owens LLC and directs, controls, or participates materially in the management of Candace Owens LLC. This court also has personal jurisdiction over defendant Owens under Delaware law in the Due Process Clause of the United States Constitution because plaintiff's claims against her arise from her and her Delaware entities' actions in causing tortious injury to plaintiffs by an act or omission outside of Delaware as they regularly do or solicit business, engage in persistent courses of conduct, and derive substantial revenues from services or things used or consumed in the state, including subscriptions and related products and services. Moreover, exercising jurisdiction over defendant Owens would not offend traditional notions of fair play and substantial justice because she could have and should have reasonably foreseen being hailed into court in the state of Delaware, where she formed, managed, and controlled entities she used to commit tortious conduct, and where her entities regularly transact business to account for her tortious conduct against plaintiff. So Candace is effed for having her company in Delaware. I heard, was it Nate the lawyer? Is that who it was? No. Robert Barnes. Excuse me. It was Robert Barnes who was saying, man, you do not want to get sued in Delaware. So she's trying to move the lawsuit to Tennessee. That's what she said on Tucker Carlson's podcast. This court has general personal jurisdiction over defendant George Tom under Delaware law and the Due Process Clause of the U.S. Constitution because it is incorporated in Delaware. Exercising jurisdiction over defendant George Tom would not offend traditional notions of fair play and substantial justice because it could have and should have reasonably foreseen being hailed into court in the state of Delaware, where it is formed and where it transacts business to account for its tortious conduct against plaintiffs. Factual allegations. All right, we're going to get into the factual allegations. Thank you so much for the $10 super chat from Scribulations. Much appreciated. Make sure I'll definitely read every super chat and I'll try my best to the other ones. 4 a.m. in Norway. You should be asleep, but not. You are with us, so I appreciate you. Lauren's going to join us later than anticipated. No problem. Take your time, Lauren. We'll be here when you're ready. Bruce is hanging out probably with his Starlink internet, coming to us from somewhere across the U.S. We'll see you. Although I don't know if Bruce responded. So no pressure to get in here. I don't know if you responded, but you're more than welcomed. Factual allegations. President Macron rose to power in France, embodying a modern dynamic image of leadership that resonates with many citizens. Okay, calm down. This isn't LinkedIn. You know what I mean? Chill out. President Macron was born. By the way, hit the like button if you haven't already. It'll introduce our audience to new people. We're a kind community. We appreciate all the support. Don't forget to subscribe. We might get up to 140,000 subscribers tonight. We'll have to see if that happens, but I do have the subscriber ticker opened. So again, I'll be posting, I know we have a lot of new people coming in. I will be posting the subscriber ticker as the time comes. It's going to be a long one tonight, so we appreciate all of the support. We're at 139,822. That is a big number. So we're at 139,822. Again, we'll get up to 140 tonight, probably. We'll do a little toast when we get there. President Macron was born on December 21st, winter solstice, 1977, in Amiens, France, to François Nogue, a physician, and Jean-Michel Macron, a neurologist. From an early age, she demonstrated intellectual curiosity and emotional sensitivity, nurtured in large part by his close bond with his maternal grandmother, Manette, a school teacher who introduced him to literature and progressive political ideals. Oh, I'm sorry. Back over here. But thank you for the new subscribers. We already just leaped up a bunch. President Macron attended La Providence, a Jesuit high school in Amiens, where he first met Brigitte Macron, a French and drama teacher. At the time, this is where it gets a little dodgy. At the time, it's like, wait, what's the age difference here? She's a World War II vet, and he's okay. At the time, Mrs. Macron was an accomplished educator and mother of three. Their early interactions were centered around academic mentorship and a shared passion for literature and theater. Listen, I was mentored by some great teachers too, but I didn't end up marrying them. On April 13th, 1953, in Amiens, France, Mrs. Macron was born Brigitte Trogneau, a woman. All right, so very clear, very clear. Chantal Portelon says, I'm not a fan of Macron either, but Candace is lying. Interesting here. Clocks said, Candace is older than me and married to a dad younger than me, married to a guy younger than my dad or older than my dad, right? Someone said, would love to see Dave Neal interview Candace. Well, I'm in Nashville, so I'm here. I think I'm below her. I don't think she would interview. I don't think I've got a big enough following, but hey, a boy can dream. On April 13th in Amiens, France. And by the way, if I did ever interview Candace, what's interesting to me about her is when people get canceled, and I don't mean this like, oh, they get canceled, but like when people have harsh criticism against them, some people decide to flip political ideologies. And I just find that interesting because Candace is kind of homeless in the sense that she's a self-proclaimed conservative, but a lot of people in the Conservative Party don't like her. A lot of people in the liberal people don't like her. Personally, me, I really do believe everyone's trying their best with the information they have. I heard a great interview with Dr. Drew, and he had a theory about why Candace might be doubling down on this. Like, let's make a quick assumption. Let's assume Candace is wrong. Let's just make that assumption. And if she is wrong, is she willingly going against what she believes, or does she believe she's telling the truth? And it could come down to the fact that she's been right about previous things and therefore believes her intuition, even if it's leading her down the wrong path. That would not absolve her in court, but that could be the case. Or she could be right. I could be crazy. She could be right. For all I know, she could be right. 500 people in the chat. Good to see you. So they shared a passion for literature. Sure. On April 13th, Mrs. Macron was born a woman. She was the youngest of 6 children in a prominent chocolate-making family in Amiens. Oh, I'm triggered. I'm a big chocolate guy. I got a sweet tooth. An image of her birth announcement and family photo featuring Mrs. Macron as a child is below. So here's her birth announcement. And people have said, oh, it could be faked. Or they say, well, Brigitte Macron was a person. It's just not the person. But there it is. There is the birth announcement. And there is a circle of her as a child. That's adorable, cute photo. There they are. The chocolate-making family. This is a real Willy Wonka storyline coming to life. Mrs. Macron married her first husband, André Louis Ozier, in 1974 when she was 21. Again, that was 3 years before Emmanuel Macron was born. So she got, okay. They had 3 children, Laurence, Sebastian, and Tiffon. A photo from Mrs. Macron's and Mrs. Ozier's wedding is below. Mrs. Macron and Mr. Ozier's wedding. So there is Brigitte Macron. So says this court case right there. There she is in this photo. Again, I don't know if Candace has shared these or not. Leo said Candace may have developed a mental psychosis and actually believes this story, believing it to be true. Maybe and again, I'm not going to give any, Tiffane is the pronunciation, says Nina. Thank you. I'm not going to judge Candace for anything right now. I'm going to try my best to have my opinion, but also say, I'm assuming that she's trying the best with the information she has. If we get any evidence that she's knowingly avoiding this information, we'll get to that when we get to that. But right now, I'm going to assume Candace might have stepped in some dog crap and didn't realize it, or she might be telling the truth, and this might be a massive cover-up, and the cabal is real, and all these other things. Mrs. Macron began her career teaching in Paris and Strasbourg before joining La Providence in the early 1990s. There, she taught French and directed the school's theater workshop. Through the school's theater workshop, President Macron and Mrs. Macron formed a deeper intellectual connection. Come on, he was 14. What kind of deep connection are you making with a 14-year-old, you weirdo? And of course, like, you could say, oh, times are different and all of that. I'm gonna try my best to hold off too much judgment here. This clearly wasn't normalized, not even in France, not even during the 70s or 80s or 90s. But this is the case. This is their story. During a school production of Jacques and His Master, President Macron played the lead role under Mrs. Macron's direction. He later undertook an ambitious rewrite of another play, The Art of Comedy, to create roles for more students. Mrs. Macron agreed to guide him, and the two began meeting regularly to collaborate on the project. At all times, the teacher-student relationship between Mrs. Macron and President Macron remained within the bounds of the law. But when President Macron's parents became aware of his strong feelings for his teacher, they decided to transfer him to Lycée Henri IV in Paris. Mrs. Macron encouraged him to leave and was confident he would fall in love with a peer. Yet before his departure, he told her, "Whatever you do, I will marry you." And come on, that's a pretty heavy words for a 15-year-old. President Macron completed his studies at Lycée Henri IV and went on to earn a degree in philosophy from Paris Nanterre Université, followed by a master's degree in public affairs from Sciences Po. And by the way, did I let you guys know I did study abroad in France, in Marseille, though, not in Amiens, but actually not too far away, I don't think. I think it's kind of close. It's all relative to a small country, right? He then attended the prestigious École Nationale d'Administration, ENA, which trains France's top civil servants. I went to École, what the fuck was it called? I can't remember. After graduating, he began his career. I went to Euromed, École de Commerce, Euromed, in Marseille. J'ai étudié à Marseille pour 6 mois, pas très bien, mais anyway. After graduating, he began his career as a finance inspector at the French Ministry of Économie et Finance. Over the years, President Macron and Mrs. Macron kept in touch, and their love deepened. In 2006, Mrs. Macron divorced her first husband, and in 2007, she married President Macron. No time for the waste right there. Their relationship has remained strong and supportive, marked by a deep intellectual partnership. Well, she did slap the shit out of him, but, who am I to judge? That happened recently on a flight. By the way, check this out, just to break things up for a second here. How about this? You like these apples right here? Hold on. I hit the wrong button. There it is. Diet Cherry Coke. How about that? That's a nice retro thing, right? All right. We continue. News continuons. In 2008, President Macron joined Rothschild and Citibank as an investment banker, where he achieved notable success. His public service career resumed in 2012 when he joined President François Hollande's administration as Deputy Chief of Staff and Economic Advisor. In 2014, he was appointed Minister of the Economy, where he implemented key economic reforms, later known as the Macron Law. By the way, what's a key economic reform in France? Like, we're going to cut the price of brie 50%. Like, what's a big... As Hollande, you like my cheese jokes? Cheesy, fromagey. As Hollande's popularity declined amid economic difficulties and rising nationalism, President Macron began distinguishing his platform from that of the sitting administration. He recognized the need for a new centrist movement to address the challenges of the moment. In 2016, he founded the political movement En Marche Forward, which he described as a democratic revolution. Later that year, he resigned from his ministerial post and declared his candidacy for president. His campaign emphasized pro-European centrist policies and quickly gained national momentum. Mrs. Macron joined her husband on the campaign trail, acting as a central figure and key advisor to his campaign. Following the first round of elections in April of 2017, President Macron publicly credited Mrs. Macron for his success, saying, "Without her, I wouldn't be me." He went on to win the presidency in May of 2017. Upon assuming office, President Macron formally established an official unpaid role for the First Lady. Oh, she's not getting paid? All right, is she producing? Maybe Brigitte Macron could produce some plays in the new Oval Office ballroom they're building, the White House ballroom, the new White House theater that they're building. Careful there, Abe Lincoln. You know, you don't want Abe Lincoln to get Luigi'd. Can we say these things out loud? I'm not endorsing it. I'm just saying, you know, careful. All right. In this capacity, Mrs. Macron represents France in diplomatic settings, supports charitable causes, engages in initiatives related to education, health, disability, and child protection. By the way, child protection is rich. She was protecting Emmanuel from dating women his own age. Her responsibilities are supported by an advisory cabinet and 2 presidential aides. Mrs. Macron is a strong, independent woman. And by the way, I don't know what evidence they have that she groomed him, other than that, like, I don't know how deep that goes, but clearly they're making it seem as though they didn't cross the line. My guess is, I think in France, the age of consent's 15. So my guess is that it was legal. So they say nothing illegal happened, but that's still insane. It's still insane, right? Mrs. Macron is a strong, independent woman who has consistently forged her own path. Throughout her life, she has refused to be confined by societal expectations or limited by traditional roles. As First Lady of France, she has made deliberate, thoughtful choices rooted in conviction and purpose. Far from merely supporting her husband from the sidelines, Mrs. Macron has been an active and engaged partner, respected for her intellect, influence, and refusal to simply do as she is told. Her life and work embody a commitment to education, civic engagement, and personal agency. Brigitte Macron is a target of a vicious conspiracy crafted by those threatened by her influence. What's the age of consent in France? Someone let me know. Around March 2021, Natasha Ray, who describes herself as an independent journalist, published on her now deleted Facebook profile false and defamatory claims alleging that Mrs. Macron is a transgender woman perpetrating identity theft. So I'm guessing this is where the entire rumor came from. Those baseless allegations initially failed to attract significant public attention, but that changed when Ray began working with Xavier Poussard. In May of 2021, Poussard began publishing a multi-issue series entitled The Mystery of Brigitte Macron. That series recycled and expanded on numerous falsehoods, including the defamatory insinuations regarding Mrs. Macron's alleged biological sex, allegations later amplified and expanded on by Owens. In September of 2021, Ray collaborated with Poussard to co-author a publication in Fait et Document, a fringe magazine reportedly influential within far-right circles in France. Fait et Document was founded in 1996 by Emmanuel Ratier, a known figure of the French far-right. On December 10th, 2021, Ray appeared on the YouTube channel of Amandine Roy, a self-described spiritual medium. Roy conducted a 4-hour interview with Ray, during which Ray reiterated the defamatory claims that Mrs. Macron was, in fact, born as a male named Jean-Michel Trogneau, which is the actual name of Mrs. Macron's brother, who stole the identity of Brigitte Trogneau. They also claimed that Mrs. Macron's first husband never existed and that she did not carry her 3 children. The video quickly went viral, amassing more than 450,000 views before it was removed by YouTube. Purple Yellow says, Candace is cooked. In December 2021, the hashtag Jean-Michel Trogneau began trending on Twitter, with users pointing to the fact that there are few public photos of Mrs. Macron from her youth. Oh, she was born 400 years ago. What do you want? Hey, we have 600 people in the chat. Hit the like button. Thank you guys so much for supporting. Nina says the minimum age of consent in France is 15, as specified by Article 227.25 of the Penal Code. Good to know. Look at that. Who needs ChatGPT when we have a chat section? So, yeah, a lot of questions. Why are there no photos of her? Well, she was born before photography existed. No, I'm kidding. She's old. In September 2024, a French court held that Ray and Roy defamed Mrs. Macron for spreading false rumors that Mrs. Macron was born Jean-Michel Trogneau and later stole the identity of Brigitte Trogneau. The defamation suit confirmed that Ray's and Roy's claims that all documents related to Mrs. Macron's birth, marriage, divorce, and childbearing were forged to conceal her actual sex were false. Jean-Michel participated in the trial. Ray and Roy were fined €500 in order to pay €8,000 to Mrs. Macron and €5,000 to her brother in civil damages. That is such a little amount of money, considering this is like a global story. God bless. By the way, I wish we had those €2 coins. You ever go to France? You have €2 coins? You just flick them at people. We don't have that. We got these dollar bills. Boring. After multiple victories against Ray and Roy at home in France, the Macrons thought these false claims had been put to bed. But as discussed below, Owens turned this flame into a fire. Owens is a far-right conspiracy theorist who thrives on making outrageous claims, prioritizing shock value, and follower growth over truth and responsible discourse. Speaking of follower growth, look at that, folks. We are flying up to 140,000. Hit the subscribe button. Owens did not always espouse extreme right-wing ideals. She was born in White Plains, New York, and raised in Stamford, Connecticut. Owens graduated from Stamford High School in 2007 and attended the University of Rhode Island. Hey, that's where I went to school before leaving due to financial issues. Rhode Island born, and I'm Rhode Island bred, and when I die, I'll be Rhode Island dead. Go, go, Rhode Island, Island. Go, go, Rhode Island, go, Rhode Island, URI. I didn't know she went to URI. Rhody Rams. There's my connection. Following her departure from the greatest state school in the world, Owens completed an internship at Vogue magazine, and was later hired as an administrative assistant at a private equity firm in New York. In 2015, she left the financial sector to start a marketing agency called Degree 180. Degree 180's website featured a blog that gained notoriety for publishing progressive, anti-conservative, and anti-Trump content, the exact opposite of her current views. So it seems as though they're trying to make her out to be a grifter. That's what it seems as though. Oh, excuse me. Apologies. Sorry about that. Yeah, you're getting a lot of Dave lore. So yeah, there's, and again, people can change their opinions on things, but I think part of it was she felt like the progressives hated her, and so maybe she flipped sides. But again, maybe I'm reading into things. That all changed in 2016 when Owens launched socialautopsy.com, a website that aimed to expose individuals responsible for online harassment by publishing their identities, which I kind of like that idea. But, the project was widely condemned across the political spectrum, with both conservative and progressive voices expressing concerns over privacy and potential misuse. I think if you're going to be an asshole online, we should at least know what your name is. That's what I think. I'm not saying dox them, like share their address, but like you want to be a dick, we should know your name. That's just my thought. In retaliation, because why do we have the benefit of the anonymity online? We don't have that benefit in real life. Like you can't just put a hood, over and be an asshole to people in public. You get punched in the face. Just a thought. Dahlia says, Dave, please remember that when Lively first filed her lawsuit, it seemed very believable. No, of course. There's always two sides to a story. But people must remember that I've only heard Candace Owens' side, that this is the counter side. This is the gigantic, hundreds of millions of dollar lawsuit against Candace Owens. In retaliation, critics shared Owens' personal information online. Owens attributed the widespread criticism and retaliation efforts to two progressives who had attempted to convince Owens to abandon the project. While Owens was being criticized by those who purportedly shared her beliefs, she received support from prominent figures associated with the far right. Owens publicly stated that this was the catalyst for her ideological shift, remarking, "I became conservative overnight." And by the way, this is how it happens. Tim Pool, plenty of people that used to be pretty left-leaning have moved. But again, you see this happen where people feel quote-unquote canceled and they flip sides. In late 2016, she began expressing support for Donald Trump's presidential run. By 2017, Owens had completely flipped political sides, aggressively ramping up her online criticisms of liberal ideology and policies through her YouTube channel. She further amplified her voice and newfound point of view to young conservatives through her role as communications director of Turning Point USA, a nonprofit organization that advocates for conservative ideals on high school and college campuses nationwide. In 2019, Owens founded the Blexit movement, which encouraged Black Americans to leave the Democratic Party. I guess that's kind of like Brexit. That same year, she launched the Candace Owens Show, a podcast on YouTube where she interviewed conservative figures. In August 2019, she married George Fama, a British citizen and the son of Lord Michael Fama, a former treasurer of the Conservative Party. When the couple met in December of 2018, George Farmer was chairman of Turning Point UK and later became CEO of Parler, a far-right social media platform. As her visibility grew, Owens also became involved in French far-right politics. She was invited to be the headline speaker at the Convention de la Droite. Droite means right, just so you know. Convention of the Right in Paris in September 2019. The convention was organized by associates of Marianne Maréchal, the niece of Marine Le Pen, President Macron's political adversary. During her speech, Owens criticized President Macron, calling him a weak leader. Shortly after the event, Owens tagged Maréchal in a comment to a Twitter post showing a video of the two speaking. In the near future, there will be a deeper alliance between France and the U.S. Thank you, Marianne Maréchal, for widening my understanding of the challenges faced by France today. Maréchal replied favorably, thanking Owens for her courage. Owens' criticism of President Macron continued and increased after the 2022 Russian invasion of Ukraine. Oh, we're getting Russia involved. Getting Russia involved. And again, yeah, there's this idea that Russia inflamed this story, which, by the way, I wouldn't, I wouldn't be surprised by that. We know that Russia meddled in the election. I'm not saying that they can, change the ballots, but it's known that they had bot farms and things like that. We know that Russia paid conservative YouTubers, Tim Pool, a couple others, Charlie Kirk, I think, a few others. So we now obviously they didn't know they were being paid by Russia. They were paid by this company called Tenet Media, I think in Nashville, actually. So we do know that there is Russian influence. I don't think Russia cares how they influence. I think they just want to fart in the elevator, if you know what I mean. And again, that everything I just shared with you has been proven in the court system. So not a conspiracy. It is a conspiracy by Russia, but we know that to be true, that they spend considerable resources hacking and troll farming and things like that, which is important to know next time you get on Facebook. They like to curate a certain opinion. They want us all to hate each other and all that. Where the hell did I go? Over the years, Owens' network has included prominent conservative figures known for extreme or conspiratorial rhetoric, such as Charlie Kirk, Alex Jones, Nigel Farage, and even Kanye West. During Paris Fashion Week in the fall of 2022, Owens appeared with West wearing controversial White Lives Matter t-shirts, a slogan condemned by civil rights groups as a white supremacist response to the Black Lives Matter movement. Yeah, by the way, I think it is insane that Candace Owens would wear a White Lives Matter shirt, but that's neither here nor there. West posted a photo of him and Owens wearing the shirt with the caption, "Everyone knows that Black Lives Matter was a scam. Now it's over. You're welcome." Around this time, West announced plans to buy Parler Farmers Company. The deal collapsed shortly after Adidas ended its contract with West for making anti-Semitic comments. In 2021, Owens joined The Daily Wire, where she hosted her talk show, Candace Owens, until her departure in 2024. Owens left The Daily Wire in March of 2024 following public clashes with co-founder Ben Shapiro over her increasingly anti-Semitic rhetoric. In the wake of the October 7th Hamas attacks on Israel, Owens voiced strong pro-Palestinian and anti-Israel sentiments. Her commentary escalated from political criticism to overt anti-Semitic conspiracy theories. On her talk show, Owens alleged that secret Jewish gangs commit horrific things in Hollywood. And on social media, she repeated the long-debunked blood libel myth that Jewish people drink the blood of Christian children. I didn't even know that was a myth. This is how far away I am from these conspiracies. I'm on the right side of the internet. These comments justifiably received widespread condemnation. That's what blood libel means. I had no idea. Following her departure from The Daily Wire, Owens did not slow down. In fact, she seized the opportunity to become even more extreme. In June of 2024, she independently relaunched her talk show under the name Candace on YouTube. In September, she posted an interview with Kanye West, during which both claimed that Jewish people control the media. YouTube removed the video and suspended and demonetized her channel for violating hate speech policies. Despite this, Owens persisted in promoting conspiracy theories, including calling Nazi medical experimentation on Jewish people during the Holocaust bizarre propaganda. These actions led the Australian government to deny her a visa in 2025, citing a risk that her presence could incite discord, and concluded that Australia's national interest is best served when Candace Owens is somewhere else. Damn. Yikes. I didn't realize Candace Owens got kicked out of Australia. Nar. And by the way, I don't like judging someone based off of summations of what was said. I don't know what she said in these interviews. I really don't. And, we'll get there, but this is their interpretation of it. But anyone who's judging anybody should make sure. Megan says, Dave, blow your nose, bro. I'm trying. I'll get there. We'll get to it, folks. Anyway, when someone's, when someone's claiming someone said all these things, even in a court document, you got to make sure you get to the source material. I'm just saying that regardless of what it is, because I don't know exactly what she said, so I'm neither here to comment on it or defend it. Absolutely not. Despite the inflammatory and demonstrably false nature of many of her public statements, Owens' audience has continued to grow. As of July of 2025, Owens has over 4.47 million subscribers on YouTube, and her videos have garnered millions of views. She has 6.9 million followers on Twitter. Owens repeats the outlandish claim that Brigitte Macron was born a man on the Daily Wire precisely because she knew its shock value would boost her visibility. In March of 2024, just prior to her departure from the Daily Wire, Owens began promoting the false claim that Mrs. Macron was born a man. On March 11th, 2024, Owens published an episode of her Daily Wire podcast, Candace Owens, titled Insane! Insane in the Membrane. Insane in the Brain. This is the biggest political scandal in human history, which reported on the Brigitte Macron conspiracy theory that was making its way through the courts in France. Owens was the first to bring this theory to the U.S. media and to a global audience. That same day, defendants announced the video in a Twitter post repeating that it is the biggest scandal that has ever happened in politics in human history. So there's the evidence. There she is, March 11th. Stop everything and watch this. Not a joke or an exaggeration to say that barring political assassinations, this is likely the biggest scandal that has ever happened in politics in human history. I looked into this expecting it to be insane conspiracy theory, and it is anything but. It took 3 years of research for the journalists to unpack this series. It would take 3 seconds for Macron to dispel these rumors, and yet they seem unable to. The implications are wild. So there it is. 700 people in the chat. Thank you guys so much. And another thing said, you sent Candace Owens a message telling her I'm covering this. Thanks. Appreciate it. Owens claims she learned about this theory from a 2021 debunking story published by Daily Mail. Owens falsely claimed the article was recent, despite it being published more than 3 years ago, likely to make it appear that she just happened upon this story rather than researching for a salacious conspiracy to increase viewership. Shockingly, Owens claimed there was no debunking whatsoever. Yeah, that's what Candace Owens does, that right, where she'll make claims like this just came out. But this was a 3-year-old story. You know, we saw that same thing happen with Baldoni, where she would make claims like she unearthed something, but it'd be like something we all found on Reddit. You know, which again, it's you know, whatever. She's an entertainer, to say the least, or that's a provocateur, I guess. That is false. The article included multiple photos of Mrs. Macron as a child and informed that separate journalists met both Mrs. Macron's brother, Jean-Michel, and Mrs. Macron's late husband, André-Louis Auzière. Owens omitted these facts. The next day, Owens followed up with another defamatory Twitter post stating she would stake her entire professional reputation on the fact that Brigitte Macron is, in fact, a man. There it is. This episode is blowing up, so I just want to say, after looking into this, I would stake. So there it is. I do not intend to let up on the story, and I am calling on other journalists to look into this explosive story and report accordingly. On March 13th, 2024, Owens released another episode of Candace Owens titled Media Meltdown, France's First Lady Exposed, repeating and expanding on her false claims. From the start, Owens could not keep her story straight. For example, on Owens' March 21st, 2024 appearance on the nationally syndicated radio show, The Breakfast Club radio show, she said that the Macrons tried to sell to the press a fake photo which got debunked. It was actually Jean-Michel's daughter. She has never repeated this claim because it is demonstrably false. After Owens was dismissed from the Daily Wire on March 22nd, 2024, the outlet did the right thing and immediately removed Owens' March 11th and 13th episodes, but each remains available online on other platforms. Fired from the Daily Wire and faced with clear evidence debunking her claim, Owens continued to push the conspiracy, now from her own podcast. Despite the extensive and publicly available evidence confirming the truth about the Macrons' identities and history, Owens persisted in spreading her false and defamatory allegations, even after her termination from the Daily Wire, reportedly due in part to her repeated dissemination of baseless conspiracy theories. Owens showed no sign of retracting or tempering her allegations. She continued promoting her preconceived narrative, undeterred by professional consequences or contradictory facts. So my question for the chat is, if you watched Candace Owens' docuseries, have you changed your mind at all? I'm not asking to lead you to an answer. I'm just wondering. Defendant launched Owens' independent podcast titled Candace on June 10th, 2024. Knowing her false claims about the Macrons had caught fire in March, Owens seized the moment, recycling them starting the very day she premiered Candace. Defendant took to Twitter, declaring Mrs. Macron was a man. Fueled by sensational claims, the show quickly gained attention, earning the second spot on Edison Research's list of top new podcasts for 2024. So Vince Langman said, what the hell is Emmanuel Macron married to? And she replied, a man. Which, by the way, cruel. I'm sorry, cruel. You know what I mean? Maybe you don't. I don't know. My opinion is just cruel. If you're an adult, I say do what the hell you want with your body. On June 12, 2024, Owens appeared on Piers Morgan Uncensored to push more false and defamatory claims about the Macrons, claiming even Piers Morgan, known for his provocative style, dismissed as absurd. Owens doubled down the next day by republishing clips from the interview, repeating her false allegations on the June 13th episode of Candace. Recognizing that her false claims about the Macrons were drawing significant attention, Owens escalated further. On June 17th, 2024, defendants released an episode titled, So, is Brigitte Macron a man? To repeat the discredited allegations from Owens' March episode that had since been deleted by the Daily Wire. Seeking to drive traffic to her new venture and expand her claims, Owens opened by warning that the Macrons were going to come for her life. She then repeated the categorically false claim that the Macrons had deployed the Secret Service to intimidate and detain journalists to hide the truth of Mrs. Macron's transition and identity theft. Finally, she linked these allegations to a broader, equally baseless conspiracy theory that the world is being run by a gang of satanic pedophiles masquerading as Jewish people. Projecting Owens claimed the Macrons were not behaving in ways one does when you are telling the truth. She claimed there are no photos from the first 30 years of Macron's life, but contradicted herself just moments later by admitting that photos of a younger Mrs. Macron had been released. She just does not believe they are real. The clicks kept coming, so Owens kept going, seizing every opportunity to promote her salacious claims. Defendants released another episode mentioning the conspiracy on June 26, 2024. On July 1st, 2024, Owens repeated her false claims in an episode encouraging viewers to reject scientific findings in favor of following their gut. On July 7, 2024, Owens presented these false claims on The Jimmy Dore Show. Jimmy Dore is a stand-up comedian turned political commentator who regularly promotes conspiracy theories. Defendants went so far as to create and sell merchandise to promote these claims. On July 8th, 2024, defendants posted a photo on Twitter of Owens in a t-shirt showcasing a fake Time magazine Man of the Year cover featuring Mrs. Macron. The shirt sold out. Yeah, it's pretty crazy stuff, folks. It's a pretty crazy. Let's see. I'm trying to see how I can see the super chats. Oh, maybe it's because we don't have any. I thought we had a super chat. All right. The shirt sold out. There it is. I mean, you tell me, is this not cruel? Is that really not cruel? I don't know. I don't get it. I don't get it, folks. She said, I'm calling it now Time Man of the Year. Boy. I just don't know. I don't get it. Owens went so far as to, can someone explain this to me? What's the point? What's the point? And it's like, look, if you want to call her a groomer or something, okay. All right. Shelly said that was hilarious, and you'll know it was. Well, I mean, yeah, it's in a lawsuit now where she's being sued for a lot of money. So, again, Owens went so far as to claim the 2024 Olympic opening ceremony, a tribute to Greek mythology, was designed to honor Brigitte Macron because she is transgender. This claim is not only absurd but self-defeating. Owens also insists Mrs. Macron's biological sex is a state secret, making such a tribute impossible even by her own logic. Now, look, you can look at my own Instagram. When the 2024 Olympic opening ceremony happened, I was railing against people that thought it was too dirty and it was this and it was that, it was the Last Supper desecrated. And it's like, bro, it was like, it was like the Feast of Dionysus. You know what I mean? It's like, I feel like as Americans, we're not smart enough in some ways to understand like allegory and understand, metaphors. And I don't know, just a thought. And I'm including me in that. I didn't know what Dionysus was when I saw the opening ceremonies, but it's like I love art, and I was happy to see them try something that was more artistic than just coming out there doing the haka. No offense, we love the haka. She then escalated her rhetoric, falsely alleging that the Macrons are part of a very small group of elite oligarchs who routinely practice homosexuality and pedophiling, belief in Baphomet, and worship a transgender deity that controls the world. This is yet another baseless, inherently implausible claim contradicted by public evidence and common sense. Owens bolstered this claim by reposting on Twitter a takedown of the opening ceremony of Mrs. Macron by another provocative figure, Archbishop Vigano, who had just been excommunicated from the Catholic Church. Yet again, searching for the most controversial spin, Owens posted on Twitter that Brigitte Macron is a transvestite, calling it a demonic state secret, and falsely claiming that Mrs. Macron is a grapeist. Owens used the conspicuous tag #ChristIsKing to garner even more attention. Continuing to capitalize on the attention of sensational figures and known liars, Owens published a post by Alex Jones, a notorious defamer who owes $1.5 billion to the families of the Sandy Hook shooting victims for his malicious lies and repeating her false allegations. Jones is one of the most unreliable sources imaginable. And by the way, Jones does get some things right. Like he was right about several conspiracy theories, but boy, was he wrong about some. Paul said that was not Greek. It was satanic. Was the Olympics in Greece? I mean, I'll tell you. Originally, when you win the Olympics, they give you the Greek, olive branches, so the Olympics originated in Greece. So they use, a lot of Greek history for the Olympics, it's a Greek thing. Jones is one of the most unreliable sources. Owen states that Brigitte Macron was born Jean-Michel Trogneau. He lived as a man for 30 years before transitioning to Brigitte. While he lived as a man, he fathered 3 children. Again, Owens tagged #ChristIsKing. Excuse me. Hold on a second. Yet again, aligning with the most controversial figures, defendants brought on Andrew Tate, a self-proclaimed misogynist charged with rape and human trafficking. Owens proved that no amount of credible evidence would convince her to abandon her preconceived narrative when she platformed Tate's claim that the French election was rigged like the 2020 U.S. election. Owens went further, claiming the Macrons are being blackmailed and that they are being selected for these positions. She dismissed all critics by saying the Matrix is targeting her for exposing the supposed homosexuality and pedo taking place in the world. One second. I got a little popcorn in my throat. Leo said, people being transphobic towards the Little Olympics opening just shows that people are uneducated AF. Yeah, I mean, I'm the type, like, I love art, and art is usually risque in a lot of ways. You know what I mean? And I didn't have any kids when I was watching the ceremony. Well, my son was, a newborn, but I would use that time, me personally, to educate my kids on what was actually happening. That's what I would do. I'm not blaming people for thinking differently, but we have to understand that when it comes to first world countries, the U.S. is one of the most conservative, culturally first world countries. Not saying it's conservative in other ways, but culturally, we're a very conservative country. I remember studying abroad in France, and Showgirls was on on TV. Like, they had full frontal nudity on broadcast television. We don't have that. We're afraid. We see a nipple and we're like, nipples, gross. You know what I mean? It's like, well, that's just a straw for a baby. You know what I mean? Once you have a baby, it's like the nipple. Nipples are everywhere, right? So to me, it's like we live in a very puritanical society. Anyhow, on August 30th, 2024, Owens interviewed Poussard, the publisher of the defamatory Faits et Documents series, Mrs. Macron. Poussard became Owens' primary source, quite possibly her only source, for her future reporting. In the interview, Owens and Poussard agreed that the Macrons are perpetrating fraud regarding Mrs. Macron's identity and President Macron's political independence and integrity. They further claimed that Mrs. Macron's nephew resembles President Macron and inferred that the Macron's relationship was incestuous. By the way, inferring something shouldn't be defamatory. It's obviously, like, it is what it is, but inferring something is not defamatory, but they include that here. Where did I leave it? Poussard directly accused Mrs. Macron of abuse of a minor, impersonation, and identity theft. Owens endorsed, adopted, and expanded on these claims, linking them to her broader conspiracy theory involving an extensive network of satanic pedophiles. Every time Owens faced consequences for repeating these outrageous allegations, she refused to take responsibility and instead cast herself as the victim and blamed others. For example, on September 11th, 2024, defendants embedded the August 30th episode in a Twitter post claiming that YouTube removed the video for exposing the media's complicity in covering up PDF files, when the truth is that Owens did not abide by YouTube's content moderation policies, which are designed to guard against misinformation and hate speech. The Macrons flatly debunked the conspiracy in a retraction demand to Owens, but she mocks their response, ignores the facts, and doubles down with even more reckless claims. Hold on one second here. Do we have I don't have, can someone let me know, am I missing any super chats? I don't know if we have any or not. Maybe, I just want to make sure I'm not missing anything. How do I do the banner? Let's do a ticker here. Oh, there it is. Nice. Should we just take a break here and check where we are? We've gained a couple subscribers, 139,833. Let's get up to 140,000. I know we have some new people in the chat. The Macrons debunked the conspiracy. The Macrons, through their counsel, sent a detailed retraction demand letter to Owens via email on December 3rd, 2024. The December retraction demand explained the falsity of Owens' defamatory statements and included an abundance of evidence that Mrs. Macron was born a woman named Brigitte Macron, that she was not a blood relative of President Macron, and that Macrons were not being controlled or blackmailed by any group of people. Owens did not respond to the December 3rd email. So my question, I would like to know what evidence they sent. That's what I would like to know. What evidence did you send? And again, people have said she just should prove it this way or that way. But, again, we'll have to see. She's not entitled to, Candace isn't entitled to this information. But if you are trying to get someone to shut up, you would think irrefutable evidence would be the first thing that you would share. Just a thought. You know what I mean? So I understand the people that are saying, well, why didn't they share this evidence? Again, we don't know exactly what they shared. They may include it in future exhibits, but I don't think we have it here right now. But maybe we'll have to see. Oh, look at that. Lauren shows up. Hey, Lauren, how are you?
Hey, what's up? Sorry, my PC is updating, so I can't be on camera. I'm on my laptop.
Oh, no problem. Did you want to join me in reading this?
Yeah, so I thought I only have like half an hour or so, but I thought I'd give you some help if you want to take a break or something.
I appreciate that. Why don't we just go paragraph? We'll just trade off paragraphs.
Yeah. For sure.
And for those checking out Lauren Knighty, Court of Random Opinion on YouTube, featured all over Gossip Magazine, subpoenaed by Blake Lively, a true celebrity. Now, have you followed any of this Candace stuff, or are you kind of catching up?
No, I was listening to you in the beginning of your stream before I had to go and do some stuff in the house, but that's the most I know about it. So.
All right, well, jump in right now. You start with paragraph 74, and then we'll just go back and forth.
All right. Well, I'm used to reading about an Owens, so that'll help, I guess. Owens then repeatedly ignored multiple additional attempts by the Macrons to engage. The Macrons sent a follow-up email on December 18th, 2024, which went unanswered. On January 8th, 2025, the Macrons contacted Owens' former legal counsel to facilitate communication, but received no response. Next, the Macrons attempted to personally serve the December retraction demand on January 9th, 2025, but were first ignored, then blocked by Owens' counsel, who ultimately agreed to accept service by email.
The December retraction demand explicitly denied each of Owens' claims and presented evidence that conclusively disproves them.
The December retraction demand reminded Owens that the very Daily Mail article she cited as support for her conspiracies told readers that the Courrier Picard, a daily newspaper in I don't know how you say that, Amiens, France, Miss Macron's hometown, included Miss Macron's birth announcement. The birth announcement states that Brigitte, is it Trogneau?
Yep.
Okay, was born on April 13th, 1953, and that her siblings Anne-Marie, Jean-Claude, Marie-Vonne, Monique, and Jean-Michel Trogneau have great joy in announcing the arrival of their little sister Brigitte.
Okay. So there's the birth announcement we share. Defendants knew this information, but Owens omitted it from her series precisely because it contradicted the preconceived narrative she intended to tell. This omission was deliberate and is evidence of actual malice.
The December retraction demand reminded Owens that in addition to a first communion photo and family photo, there are additional publicly available photos of Miss Macron as a child. In one such photo, Miss Macron is playing in a garden as a young girl. This photo was mentioned in the 2021 Daily Mail debunking article and the December retraction demand, but Owens never shared it with her viewers because it does not fit her preconceived narrative.
So there's the photo on the left playing in a garden, nice poofy, I don't know, whatever you got. And then on the right, now she's discussed, I don't know, they've dug into some of these photos, but there it is, folks. Check it out. The December retraction demand reminded Owens that Mrs. Macron's marriage to André Louis Auzier and his existence were well documented. The most obvious proof of his existence is the 3 children he fathered with Mrs. Macron, all of whom have acknowledged him as their father and adopted his last name. Initially, Owens falsely stated that there were no publicly available photos of Mr. Auzier. The December retraction demand reminded Owens that a publicly available photo exists of Mr. Auzier from his wedding to Mrs. Macron. Since then, Owens has found at least one additional photo through her relationship with Xavier Poussard. So there's the photo.
Whoops, I had myself on mute. To discredit this photo, Owens initially claimed that the subjects are not Mr. Auzier and Miss Macron, but Jean-Louis Auzier with his first wife, Susan Spray. The December retraction demand reminded Owens that Jean-Louis debunked this claim, stating, "When André Louis got married, I was 8 years older and I was working in Germany. There may be a slight family resemblance, but that's not to say that we are the same person. Indeed, Jean-Louis has testified in French court that the photo is not of him and won a defamation claim against Ray and Roy on that basis."
Which, again, I think was later turned over on appeal. When Owens was confronted with this information, she changed her theory, but rather than accept this photo for what it is, an image of Mrs. Macron from her marriage to Mr. Auzier, Owens concocted a new story. She changed course in the series to claim that Mr. Auzier is in the photo, but that Mrs. Macron is not. Instead, Owens claimed that it was another woman named Brigitte Macron, and that Mrs. Macron refused to verify that the image was of her. Another lie.
Owens initially told her audience that no journalist could find Mr. Auzier. This is plainly false. The December retraction demand reminded Owens that another Daily Mail debunking article explained that reporters for several outlets, including the Mail, tracked André Louis down to Lily several years ago, but he declined to comment. That aligns with his family's statements that he was a very private man.
The December retraction demand stated that Mr. Auzier passed away on Christmas Eve, 2019. His and Mrs. Macron's daughter, Tiffany, I don't know, spoke about his death afterward and noted that he was buried in the strictest privacy and that he was a nonconformist who valued his anonymity more than anything. Tiffany ended by stating he must be respected. In her earlier reporting, Owens distorted these words and the family's request for privacy into a warning, a threat almost, not to look any further. In the series, after being confronted with proof of Mr. Auzier's existence through his documented death and funeral, she again changed course and distorted the Auzier family's desire for privacy into a plot to cover up wrongdoing.
The December retraction demand also informed Owens that Jean-Michel Trogneau is alive and well in Amiens. Emmanuel Anazon, a journalist for L'Orbs magazine, reported having contact with him in Amiens in September 2023. This too was included in the Daily Mail's 2024 debunking article. In fact, Ms. Anazon wrote an entire book disproving the disinformation campaign surrounding Miss Macron. Shockingly, Owens cites Ms. Anazon's book in the series, but fails to tell her viewers it completely disproves her central thesis.
The December retraction demand provided evidence that Jean-Michel has recently appeared in public. He attended President Macron's investitures in 2017 and 2022, and the December retraction demand provided links to publicly available videos from those events. Not only was Jean-Michel present, but also in the same frame as Mrs. Macron, conclusive evidence that debunks Owens' demonstrably false claims. So here's the 2017 investiture. Oh boy, this is so French. Look at the mutton chops. They got this old man right here. They got that photo. So, I mean, they're really pulling. So they are in the same frame. Again, I don't know if let me ask the comment section. Did she share these photos with the audience? There's Emmanuel Macron right there, little Manny. And then in 2022 at the investiture, same photos in the same place. Is it my turn or yours?
I think it's mine, man.
All right, go for it.
Let's see. The December retraction demand informed Owens that Jean-Michel's defamation claims against Ray and Roy prove his existence, and that he is not Miss Macron. At Ray and Roy's June 19, 2024 trial, Jean-Michel's attorney presented both Macron's and Jean-Michel's electoral cards to the court, demonstrating that they had both voted in the European elections on June 9th, 2024 in different towns. As a result of that trial, Ray and Roy were ordered to pay Jean-Michel 5,000, what is it, pounds?
Euros.
Yep. Pounds in civil damages. My ignorance is showing. This information is also publicly available, but Owens has never informed her audience of these facts, which disprove her claim.
You know, if you get enough baguette money, we'll send you to France so you can become French. Get your French vibes. You live in Florida. That's close enough to France, right?
It starts with an F.
The December retraction demand explicitly stated that Mrs. Macron is the biological mother of her 3 children, providing that she was born as a woman and is not engaged in identity theft. In her earlier reporting, Owens claimed that Mrs. Macron fathered her 3 children with Brigitte Macron, whom she falsely claimed was the niece of Jean-Louis Ozier, the uncle of Mrs. Macron's late ex-husband. She accused Jean-Louis of forging the children's birth certificates to hide Mrs. Macron's secret. This is the same Jean-Louis whom she claimed was in the wedding photo of Mrs. Macron and her first husband, and whom has successfully sued Ray and Roy for defamation. Owens did not repeat these claims in the series, but she has never retracted the prior false claims. Lauren, this would be insane if it wasn't the president of a country, right? I mean, this is wild.
I mean, it sounds pretty crazy to me, yeah. All right. Further, Owens initially claimed that the photo of Miss Macron, in which she described as a 36-year-old teacher named Brigitte Ozier, is not actually of her, but rather of the fictitious Brigitte Proba Ozier. In doing so, Owens recklessly disregarded the facts that the photographed woman in this picture, 1, had the same name as Miss Macron did at the time, 2, had the same occupation that Miss Macron had at the age of 36, and 3, bears a striking resemblance to a younger version of Miss Macron. Owens later admitted that this was false, but she never removed the episodes including this false claim.
When Owens, and so there's the photo. So this is these are both Brigitte. This is Brigitte Ozier.
Is that not the same? It's like the same photo. It almost looks like.
It is, right? I don't know what are they trying to share here? Comment section. I'm so lost. I'm so in the weeds here. I'm like when you go surfing and you get sucked under by the waves and you don't know which way is up and down. That's how I feel right now.
Okay.
When Owens realized her claims about Mrs. Macron's children, that she fathered her children with the fictitious Brigitte Proba Ozier, could not possibly be true, she dropped them, offering no alternative explanation, just a gaping hole. She counted on her audience being too captivated or too unquestioning to notice the gap, let alone call her out on it. The reason is clear. Any theory that claims Mrs. Macron is not the mother of her children recklessly disregards the striking resemblance between her and her daughters. So there's the photo of her and her daughters, which again, yeah, they look alike, but also like these French have strong genes. You know what I mean? So like,
I've never seen her daughters before. So
yeah, I think one of them has publicly supported her, and I think that's a problem with, and especially with some of these people are so old. Like my mom and dad aren't on social media either. You know what I mean? So, but they are like they are like socialites. So you would think there'd be a lot of photos of them. But anyhow, is it you?
Yeah, it should be. The December retraction demand reminded Owens that Miss Macron, Jean Michel, is it John Michel or John Michael? What is it?
I think it's Michel.
John Michel and Jean-Louis, along with his wife, Catherine, have sued the originators of this theory, Ray and Roy, for defamation. On September 12, 2024, Ray and Roy were found guilty of defamation in order to pay damages to Miss Macron and Jean Michel. Before that, the women were found guilty and fined for lying about Jean-Louis and Catherine. Owens disregarded this credible evidence because it contradicted her preconceived narrative. I'm hearing that sentence a lot.
Yeah. And again, this is the president and the first lady's summation of what happened. Candace can like respond to it, but you know, it seems pretty wild. And most lawyers that have read through this have said that Candace is really screwed. I honestly don't know. I'm not a lawyer. It's pretty damning, but again, you know, if she believes her lies, she might get away. Or she proves it's true, you know? I don't know.
Right.
Owens responds with ridicule and doubles down. On January 10th, 2025, defendants posted on Twitter that the Macrons had sent Owens a legal letter. That post demonstrated Owens' loose relationship with the truth. In her Twitter post, Owens claimed that in mid-November she made contact with a journalist claiming to have a trove of evidence to support the claim that the First Lady of France lived as a man named Jean-Michel Trogneau before becoming and transitioning to Brigitte. Owens crafted the post to suggest she had a new source, but the journalist was actually Poussard, whom she had already met and interviewed. Owens claimed that just 10 days after their initial correspondence, the Macrons sent her a legal letter proving that Owens saw and ignored the Macrons' initial outreach in early December. Owens claimed the Macrons demanded she not publicize the letter. In fact, the letter had only a heading stating it was not for publication or attribution, a far cry from the demand she claimed. Most troubling, Owens promised she would publicize the December retraction demand, but she never did. And the reason is clear. The 33-page December retraction demand conclusively debunked Owens' claims and exposed her lies.
Sorry about that. Just doing something real quick. Owens knows a media firestorm when she sees one. Well, that's definitely true. Sensing an opportunity to amplify her claims and attract more attention, she falsely asserted that Tucker Carlson, a high-profile political commentator, was named in the December retraction demand. Defendants tagged Carlson on X, banking on the controversy to draw him in and further spread Owens' false narrative. And didn't those guys just do a stream or a video together?
Yeah, they did. And Owens was looking a little nervous. She didn't have her fastball. And I think it's because she's like reality setting in that she's not in the driver's seat right now. Because, she was claiming kind of victimhood, like, oh, we're going to really let a president of a different country come after a journalist. And it's like, no, don't play that card right now. Stand by your reporting. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Once again, framing herself as a victim in the defendant's January 10th, 2025 episode of Candace, Owens claimed the Macrons attempted to personally serve her with the December retraction demand to intimidate and terrify her. However, she neglected to tell her viewers that, in fact, the Macrons only resorted to personal service after she ignored multiple emails. Owens claimed the Macrons strenuously requested that she not publicize the December retraction demand and that the letter said all over it that it was not to be shared. Another, at best, gross exaggeration, the letter contained only a standard first-page heading, confidential, not for publication or attribution.
Owens continued to refuse to meaningfully engage with the December retraction demand. Instead, she intentionally led her audience to believe that the Macrons refused to say whether Miss Macron was born a woman or address Owens' other claims. But Owens knew that the December retraction demand addressed each of her claims and proved them to be false. Owens cherry-picked portions of the December retraction demand to read to her audience, but did not present the evidence against her claims that it contained because it contradicted her preconceived narrative. Indeed, Owens told her viewers that she had evidence disproving portions of the December retraction demand, but she was not going to tell you that today. Spoiler, she never presented it.
Yeah, this is a fun read, isn't it? Spoiler.
It's definitely interesting. Yeah.
It's funny, too, because, this law firm that the Macrons hired is the same law firm that Dominion hired when they won $750 million against Fox News. So not exactly like, this isn't David Gingras level of law.
David Gingras has some interesting writing, but it's not.
Yeah, we went from T-ball to the pros. This is professional right here. 800 people in the chat. I'm Dave Neal chatting with Lauren Knighty here from Court of Random Opinion. Make sure to give her channel a subscribe. She's great. Psych evaluator covering all of the different court cases out there in the world. We have a lot of Baldoni versus Blake Lively crossover, and Lauren is probably already well known by everyone in the chat, but again, go give her some love if you haven't. Owens leveraged the December retraction demand to generate buzz and build anticipation for her upcoming episodes. Again, Owens implied she had a new source with a trove of evidence, but that source was Poussard, whom she had already presented to her audience. She then falsely claimed that the timing of the December retraction demand demonstrated the communications of the journalist are being monitored, but admitted she had no evidence to support this. And I do want to say, the fact that she doesn't have another source is really telling because, when you're a journalist and you say you have multiple confirmed sources, it makes a story a hell of a lot more believable than if all of your sources come from the same tap, So it really is telling that the only sources that she has so far are the two YouTubers and this journalist who all come from the same sort of lineage of this conspiracy theory.
Rather than reconsider her false claims, Owens doubled down, blaming the Macrons for her content being removed from YouTube and vowing not to retract what she deems to be the truth.
On January 11th, 2025, defendants posted on Twitter that all correspondence between our legal teams will be available for the public to read. Owens has not lived up to this promise because she knows the legal correspondence contradicts her false claims. As with her other false allegations, she promised strong evidence, but that the first communion photo was not Mrs. Macron, but never delivered it. She also pretended the Macrons had not definitively denied her claims, ignoring the clear contradictory evidence that they already provided. Excuse me. And I will say, that's one of the biggest arguments that people make who believe Candace. They say, well, why won't, excuse me, they say, why won't they just, refute it? And they have. But of course, Candace's opinion rages on.
Defendants continue to mock the Macrons' attempt to correct the record, demonstrating that Owens is in the truth. She would rather make salacious and false claims to boost her revenue. For example, defendants reposted and expanded on a post from Alexander Dugin, a far-right Russian philosopher and controversial figure, featuring Miss Macron as a Neanderthal and wondering if he too would be sent a retraction demand.
Wow, there it is.
Oh, wow.
I mean, she does have a round face, but that's kind of rude. So Candace said, amazing. Will Emmanuel Macron now send a strongly worded letter to Alexander Dugin? How global is Emmanuel Macron willing to go?
Right.
So the Russians are now involved. Oh boy.
Okay.
Yeah, we got the Russians in. We have a nice France-U.S.-Russian war breaking out. The nuclear submarines are stationed and ready to fire. On January 11th, 2025, defendants reposted on Twitter the false assertion that the December retraction demand admitted that Mrs. Macron raped President Macron. This was blatantly false, and Owens knew it. The truth was that the December retraction demand pointedly denied that the president was statutorily raped. So let me just read this. She said, you will note the lawyers intentionally leave out how old Brigitte was. The public was told a lie from the beginning. They were told Macron was 17 and Brigitte was 34. All of that was a media curated tale to help bury the obvious perversion. Now, there was a certain age gap there, but again, that's not exactly what she's being sued for. But continue.
On January 12th, 2025, defendants again reposted another claim that the December retraction demand admitted that Ms. Macron raped President Macron, and I shouldn't say that on your YouTube channel, but and agreed it was indeed the most stunning admission from the letter. Owens repeated this claim on defendant's January 13th, 2025 episode. Again, Owens knew these statements were false when she made them, but the truth did not matter when there were followers to be gained.
Ain't that the truth? Oh, you got to get them followers, folks. Hit the subscribe button. Owens' response to the December retraction demand was picked up by other media outlets who understood from Owens that the Macrons had not provided any denials or evidence against her false claims, including that the Macrons were lying about Mrs. Macron's biological sex, just as Owens intended. Those same outlets described Owens as doubling down on all of her claims.
Defendants prioritized profit over truth and used the December retraction demand, I'm just going to call it DRD from now on, as fuel for even more content. And on January 13, 2025, defendants posted on X that Owens was sharing her legal response to the Macrons, one that she had not yet sent to them. In defendant's January 13, 2025 episode, Owens promised to upload her entire response to her locals page, yet again, she did not follow through. What does the footnote say?
Boy.
Brigitte was born a man. Oh, okay.
Yeah, so the different Times of India, which by the way, Times of India is like an AI. They make like nonstop Taylor Swift. Like
I noticed that.
Yeah. They're always popping up, and they get in the way of like trying to search for new news. But either way, OK Magazine, same thing, just absolute garbage. SoapCentral.com. Yeah, these are real bastions of truth out here. Soap Central. At that point, Owens decided to escalate her claims further. In that same episode, Owens falsely implied that the Macrons were responsible for the death of a journalist investigating them. Owens claimed that the Macrons have a dark side, and one by one, these independent journalists and researchers begin to suffer. Noting that this is a true story, Owens told her audience about Isabella Ferreira, who was investigating the Macrons' relationship and landed upon something bigger. And 2 weeks later, this Isabella Ferreira is found dead. The authorities ruled Ferreira's death as suicide, but Owens claimed that was almost impossible. The intended, unavoidable, and false implication is that Ferreira was killed for investigating the Macrons. Hey, can you do 2 paragraphs in a row? I'm going to grab a Diet Coke, but I can hear you.
Yeah. Wow, that was a lot. Okay, Owens repeated that the December retraction demand did not deny that Brigitte is trans or explicitly state that Brigitte Macron was born a biological woman. This is false. The DRD explicitly stated that the Macrons were not concealing Miss Macron's biological sex and that she was born Brigitte Trogneau, a woman. Owens told the Macrons to bring this lawsuit. She continued, "Don't even waste your money on getting a courier to file. I'll file it for you. I'll run down to the courthouse and file the lawsuit for you," Owens claimed. "I might even cover your legal expenses." Owens displayed her ill will towards the Macrons, stating, "I am disgusted by your relationship. You make me sick, Brigitte."
Yeah, so not a fun relationship they have here.
No, I guess not.
On January 16th, 2025, several days after publicly referencing its contents, Owens finally sent a response to the December retraction demand to the Macrons Council. Rather than retract her demonstrably false statements, Owens defiantly reaffirmed them. She provided no evidence or justification to support her defamatory claims. Instead, she attempted to trivialize the matter by insisting that the Macrons reframed their denials as responses to 21 questions, an apparent effort to convert her baseless investigation into a publicity stunt. Owens then misled her audience by claiming that because she had posed these questions, the Macrons could never prove actual malice. She failed to disclose, however, that the Macrons had already addressed the substance of her questions within their December retraction demand.
This 8-part series, is that the Becoming Brigitte thing?
Yes.
Okay, I haven't seen it yet, but I'm going to have to watch it.
Oh, they're going to get mad at you. You got to watch it. No opinions.
I know, I'm sorry. I have no dog in this fight yet. So.
No, it's essentially Candace Owens reading off a teleprompter. Which again, she's really good at what she does. Oh, yeah. But it's basically Candace Owens showing some of the photos that we've already seen here and kind of like leading her audience to the water. That's kind of what it is.
I see. On January 31st, 2025, defendants premiered the series. The series began with an introductory episode followed by 6 chapters and concluded with an epilogue. Throughout the series, Owens made the false and defamatory allegations that Miss Macron, born a man, stole another person's identity to become Brigitte. Miss Macron and President Macron are blood relatives involved in incest. I haven't heard that one.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, President Macron was chosen to be the president of France as part of MK Ultra or a similar mind control program. And Miss Macron and President Macron are committing forgery, fraud, and abuses of power to cover up these facts. These claims are demonstrably false, and Owens knew it when she published them.
I like that you're sort of uncovering things as you read. You're like, damn, incest.
There's so much I don't know about this.
And that's fun for all of us. It's like when your kid meets Santa Claus for the first time. Sit on Santa's lap, Lauren. We're going places.
God.
The first installment, titled An Introduction, premiered on January 31st, 2025. Defendants announced the introductory episode on Twitter. The episode can be found on CandaceOwens.com, YouTube, Spotify, Audible, iHeartRadio, Apple Podcasts, and Amazon Music. Also, where you can find the Rush Hour podcast every day, twice a day. A transcript is available on YouTube, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and Podscribe. So there it is, tweeting out the introductory episode at the beginning of this year.
Just before the premiere of the introduction, Owens claimed that her website was attacked by a state-level actor to prevent its publication. The implication was that the Macrons were trying to prevent the series from premiering. Owens told readers she would provide proof, but she never did. Notwithstanding the lack of proof, Owens repeated these false claims.
Throughout the introduction, Owens made the overarching false claim that the Macrons are surrounded by a syndicate of criminals that helps them conceal their secrets, which proves they themselves must be criminals. Owens made the following specific defamatory claims. Brigitte Macron's alleged brother, who I believe Brigitte Macron is, and guys, by the way, you should know that there is this strange case of what happens to every journalist who tries to touch the story. First and foremost, Isabella Ferrer. I think I mentioned this on a past episode. People who began prodding into the story as an independent journalist happened upon some huge information pertaining to the relationship of Emmanuel Macron and Brigitte, but then she was found dead. She was found dead, floating in a river, and her friend said that she didn't kill herself, but the media said she most definitely did. Now, I would love to know more information on that because I don't want to take anyone's word for it. Like, what do the doctors say? There have been people who have been so concerned about like our safety and stuff. We did up on security for this time being after getting the letter from Macron, and because of the things that we know about their network, things that are happening, like I said, to every journalist that has tried to get this out, we are taking that seriously. But also know that at the end of the day, it's not in the security's hands. It is in God's hands. And God was born a man, by the way, And God is a woman. God has transitioned. And so we just ask everybody, whether you believe or not, to just pray. Okay, your turn.
All right. The introduction set the tone for the series and left no doubt that Owens intended to portray the Macrons as liars and criminals. She told viewers that the Macrons are in fact lying to the public about Brigitte Macron's past identity, and they would not believe Miss Macron was a woman by the time the series concluded. She promised her viewers that the series would get more sensational as it went on, noting the introduction was the tip of the iceberg, and the Macrons are involved in PDF file, you can't say that on YouTube, pederasty, incest, lies, and trying to thug people via courts.
Owens juxtaposed her claims of criminal activity alongside insinuations of foul play in the case of Isabella Ferreira to intentionally imply that the Macrons were involved in Ferreira's death, a baseless and defamatory accusation. Owens bolstered and escalated the false claims with concern for her own safety and false accusations of the Macrons, weaponizing state institutions to silence critics. Owens solidified her claims of abuse of power and criminal activity by stating that Brigitte Macron and Emmanuel Macron come from a circle, a syndicate of real power, old money power. Lauren, we have Bruce from Oregon who's going to join us.
Sweet.
Let me see how I can get him on here. Hold on. How do I? Oh, geez, I'm really. How do I invite? How do I get him in here?
Oh, you sent him the link, right?
He just. Oh, no, you know what? He disappeared. Bruce, did I accidentally kick you out? Come back in. Oh boy.
It's possible.
I might have kicked him out. All right, sorry. I jumped the gun. Sorry, Bruce. Come back, please. They found Bruce dead in a river. No, that's not.
No.
Okay. No, Bruce. Please float, Bruce. All right. Where the hell are we?
Owens painted herself as the victim for her morally superior efforts to expose what's happening with Brigitte Macron. She claimed that she was the victim of defamation by the media, which is protecting state criminals such as the Macrons.
There he is. Bruce, good to see you.
Hey, buddy.
Ladies and gentlemen.
Oh, my gosh. There he is. Bruce the Moose. Bruce is a longtime friend, moderator, I think security guard. What other van lifer? What other credits do we have for you?
I'm a Renaissance man, Dave.
He's a moose.
I'm not French, but I'm a Renaissance man.
There you go. That's all. That's the most. You look French. You look French Canadian.
No, most of my DNA is from Norway.
Well, close enough.
Yeah.
Boat ride or whatever.
Euros. Yeah.
Do you want to join us and read with us, Bruce?
I just sort of hopped on to let you know you got a few super chats.
Oh my gosh.
I was gonna ask if are you on your laptop mic? Because it sounds a little maybe.
Oh, do I sound bad?
No, it doesn't sound bad. We can just hear you when you go get a soda or whatever. So I thought maybe you're on the other mic.
Oh, let me check. No, I'm on Roadcaster.
Maybe it's doing good. We're just here in the room. But anyway, I just wanted to say hi, guys. And it's Saturday night, having a good time. I'm van lifing here, following along. I'm trying to moderate the chat a little bit, and just wanted to say thanks for reading through this document.
Yeah, and how is the chat tonight? Is it behaving itself? Give us a full report on the chat.
Oh,
it's a little spicy. I mean, everybody's got a strong opinion. I think the key thing is, guys, you can have an opinion, you can explain your position, you can explain your evidence. Just don't be rude to the other people in chat, and we'll be okay.
Yeah, I mean, isn't that the whole thing? It's like, look, maybe you believe Candace Owens' argument. That's fine. Like, we're lucky enough that none of us are being sued over this, but Candace is. So we have to give credit to, if everyone believes Candace.
I mean, I don't really need another subpoena. So.
Yeah, we've been through enough. We've
really. You want to look at it's like a court case, right? You want to hear both sides, and just like a jury, come to a conclusion when you've seen everything. So,
and you really can't do that till you hear the Macron side. Like, I mean, the Macrons are literally saying that Candace is withholding information that they sent her. I mean, that to me is a pretty big deal.
We'll have to see. I mean, it depends on whether she thought that was relevant or not, or whether it answered the questions that she had. I know she had a lot of questions she wanted answered. Maybe there's some, talking past each other. They're interpreting.
That's true. They have
differently.
Yeah, and I wonder if that'll play into it. Will there be any lost in translation excuse for Candace? We'll have to see. But you look comfy, you look cozy out there. You got the dog.
Yeah.
You got good internet. So are you at home or are you on the road?
I'm on the road, man.
Amazing.
I'm on the loose. Yeah.
Your home is the van now, right? You sold your house, so
Yeah.
I would just be living at I'd be eating that cheeseburger lifestyle, just all Whataburgers or whatever your local.
It's a lot of granola.
It's a lot of granola. How is the bathroom open in the van? How does that work?
What? I mean, what do you mean open? I mean, it works.
Yeah, I didn't know. Some people it's off limits. I don't know what you're.
I mean, I don't have an open door policy here for the whole campground, but yeah, I mean.
Okay, good to know. Hey, set your boundaries. Well,
yeah.
Thanks for joining us and for.
I just wanted to say hi.
Appreciate you, Bubba. I know.
Yeah,
we
should
don't go
get
live
back
much
to the super chats and the document. Yeah.
All right, let's do it. Super chats. Lords. Okay, yeah, you're right. I do have 10. Lords here. $5. Thank you, Jam. $5. Thanks for going through this suit. I want to get up to date on what is happening. We're trying to get you there. And then Lee with $2. Appreciate you so much. Brian with another $10. It's Candace's current theory is that Jean-Michel replaced Brigitte. Yeah, we'll see how that plays out. Low Milts, $5. Excuse me, says, please go watch Becoming Brigitte. I did. It was whelming. It was neither underwhelming or overwhelming. It was right whelmed. Low Mill says that second photo is her daughter Tifane. And then what currency is this? SGD. I'm not sure. Even if true, which I don't believe, baseless, these transvestigation conspiracies targeting women in power, Brigitte, the Obamas, Kamala, to accuse them of transgender in order to delegitimize them is transphobic and anti-LGBT. Thank you for the comment there. I really appreciate that.
I think it's Singapore.
Singapore. Hey, nice. I think it's tomorrow in Singapore. Happy Sunday. Lisa said, stupid questions, but why not just take a DNA test? Don't I have a DNA test button? I don't know where it is. Yeah, I mean, they could have taken a DNA test, but
for pregnancy, maybe.
Yeah, where's my DNA test button? Anyway, I'm not really
They should hit up Ravgen. It'll be fine.
I know, right?
Yeah, we got to call Brett from Ravgen. Little to no defamation DNA. I don't know.
Yeah, could you hear my button when I press that? Do you guys hear that?
No.
I didn't know.
You didn't hear it? Oh, geez. Anyway,
No.
It was Lizzo. Lisa says take a DNA test. No, I agree. I mean, I think a DNA test would solve a lot of things, but again, that's really up to her. She said she is ready for this lawsuit because the Macrons will have to present items in discovery proving that she is not a man. I'll wait. Yeah, I mean, look, I'll wait on that too. Like, I'm not going anywhere. We'll see what they present in court. Low Mills with another $2. Thank you for the continued super chat. Says Candace is doing a Becoming Brigitte Part 2. Well, double down, triple down, do what you got to do. Where the hell are we? Where do we end up here?
I don't remember which paragraph. Yeah.
I'll see you guys in chat. Have a good one.
Thank you so much, Bruce. Bruce
Yeah.
the Moose. Appreciate you. Oh, we love Bruce. I'm so jealous of Bruce in the van. What a clean van he's got. It's a good looking van. The Macrons told Owens that her insinuation that they were involved in the death of Farrow was entirely false. Again, they told Owens that they had not engaged in any criminal behavior. And again, they told Owens that there was no secret group controlling or blackmailing them with evidence of Mrs. Macron being born a man.
Owens never wrote back, but instead used the demand as content for her series, which, YouTubers will do that. Owens chose to publicly deliver her reply to the Macrons' February retraction demand in the next episode of the series, rather than issue a direct reply to the Macrons, further evidence that she prioritized publicity over truth. Unsurprisingly, her response was to once again double down on her knowingly false and defamatory claims. So there was a December retraction demand and a February retraction demand?
Yeah, they like to send them monthly. Here's the new retraction. And this is why you send something like legally, because you want proof that they read it, right? And so
Right.
it seems at this point they're not just sending emails; they're making sure the courier service knows she's getting them.
Okay.
Episode 1: Gaslighting the Public. On February 4th, 2025, defendants released the next episode of the series, titled Episode 1, Gaslighting the Public. Defendants announced the release of Episode 1 on Twitter. The episode can be found on CandaceOwens.com, YouTube, Spotify, Audible, iHeartRadio, Apple Podcasts, and Amazon Music. A transcript available on YouTube, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and Podscribe.
Okay. Episode 1 was premised on Owens' false claims that the Macrons have manipulated and controlled the media, even resorting to outright lies and fraud to conceal their past and the nature of their relationship. During episode 1, Owens made the following specific false and defamatory claims. I literally told you that every journalist that tries to touch this story, something happens to. Okay, and it is a fact that Isabella Ferreira was working on the story, had messaged according to her friends saying that she had a bombshell about Emmanuel Macron, and appreciate the French press has reported on this. And then she was found dead floating in a river. Okay, or a pond, whatever it was. And they, the public, said that she had drowned, and her friends said that she was not suicidal. And the public, the press, said that she had maybe taken some pills. I don't remember. Like I said, every journalist that tries to get this out, yes, that is not a lie. That is the truth. We have upped our security because, and we were responding to the chat, people saying, get yourself some good security. And of course, when you have people walking around your property and you have young children and you understand the extent of the stakes that are in this, getting and upping your security, that is my right. I believe Brigitte Macron was born a biological male, okay, and then transitioned into a female. That is my belief. I don't know how many times I can say it. And you will never, ever, ever get me to transform my opinion that you were groomed by the person you eventually married in 2007, Brigitte Macron. I believe she's a man.
Owens began episode 1 by doubling down on the claims she made in the introduction episode about Ferreira and her own safety in response to the February retraction demand. Again, these statements unmistakably and intentionally implied criminal culpability on the part of the Macrons and are demonstrably false.
Owens supported these claims of violence and criminality with statements that the Macrons are surrounded by criminals, PDF files, and an extraordinary syndicate. She claimed they purposefully hire employees who will break you down and use tactics of blackmail and coercion.
These claims are false. The Macrons were not involved in the death of Ferreira, nor would they make any attempt to direct violence against Owens.
Turning to focus on the crux of her false theory, Owens detailed Miss Macron's life for viewers with an eye towards supporting her baseless claim that Miss Macron was born a man. Owens deliberately emphasized the word allegedly before recounting details of Miss Macron's life to indicate Owens' intent to debunk them. Again, Owens falsely claimed that the DRD failed to address whether or not Brigitte Macron was a man.
By the way, when you have a conspiratorial audience, you get claims. So someone is saying, let me see if I have it. I might have lost it. Someone said, Dave, you didn't watch the series because you asked if the wedding photo was in it. You would know the answer if you watched it. Easy does it, okay? I watched it. I have a 15-month-old son. I might have been changing his diaper at that point. You know what I mean? Like, chill out. I'm not in school anymore. I'm not taking a test.
It's also just really hard to remember every little detail. Like, what is it, like an 8-part series?
Yeah, you need to pop an Adderall and try to go through all of this.
Seriously, yeah.
Owens attempted to bolster her false claim based on Mrs. Macron's clothing. Owens pointed out that Mrs. Macron is dressed by Nicolas Ghesquière, the artistic director of Louis Vuitton women's collections, whom Owens describes as the main promoter of transgenderism and androgyny in the fashion world, and who specializes in transgenderism. Owens suggested that this is evidence that Mrs. Macron must be transgender, ignoring the obvious truth that many women appreciate and wear Louis Vuitton. This manufactured meaning is a telling example of the quality of Owens' evidence. I agree. That is a very, very shaky, thing to link up there.
Most shockingly, Owens outright lied about the DRD to support her false claims of statutory rape and PDF file stuff. Twisting facts to fit her preconceived narrative, Owens stated that the DRD was an admission that it is statutory R-word. This assertion is factually and legally incorrect and further republishes the false allegation of criminal conduct.
Owens told the Macrons that no amount of evidence will ever get her to transform her opinion, that President Macron was groomed by Mrs. Macron and that Mrs. Macron was born a man. This flatly refutes her claims that her goal is to inform her audience of the facts.
We're on episode 2 now. Okay. On February 5th, 2025, defendants released the next episode of the series titled Episode 2, An Inaccessible Past. Defendants announced the episode on X. The episode can be found on CandaceOwens.com, YouTube, Spotify, Audible, iHeartRadio, Apple Podcasts, and Amazon Music. A transcript is available on YouTube and all those.
Episode 2 was premised on Owens' false claims that both President and Mrs. Macron have intentionally made it impossible for the media to uncover their past. thereby hiding the secrets of their identities and relationship. During episode 2, Owens made this following specific false and defamatory claim. He turned to his wife to know what to answer about his sister. I don't know about how you guys are feeling right now, but I'm starting to get a little icky feeling. It's all starting to feel a bit, I don't know, incestuous to me.
In a calculated move to mislead viewers into thinking her false claims had multitudes of real evidence behind them, Owens began episode 2 by telling her audience that she did not even cover all of the PDF file stories in Miss Macron's past.
Throughout episode 2, Owens remained committed to her preconceived narrative that Mrs. Macron was born a man, interpreting all information as further confirmation. She again highlighted Mrs. Macron's clothing as evidence she transitioned, stating that she wore a lot of scarves as a teacher, and the only plausible explanation was that they were meant to hide signs of feminization surgery.
Huh.
Maybe she was chilly. I don't know. Maybe this is
it could be
drafty and amian.
Right. I have no idea. Owens based her theory that Miss Macron is her brother, Jean Michel, on the family photo from her childhood. Owens stated that Miss Macron was not the child on the mother's lap, but really the young boy to the left. Owens bolstered this false claim with the equally false evidence that up until the release of the family photo, Jean Michel was completely unaccounted for as a member of the Miss Macron's family.
Owens reinforced her preconceived narrative by lying to her viewers about additional photos from Mrs. Macron's childhood. First, she told her audience that the biographical documentary Brigitte Macron, Un roman français by Virginie Linhart only contained 2 photos from Mrs. Macron's childhood, when it contained more. Second, Owens claimed she was presenting a collage, actually, of all the photos in the documentary, even though she knowingly omitted many images in the documentary. Third, moving the goalposts after being confronted with contradictory evidence, Owens walked back her claim that the first communion photo was recolorized, but maintained it was still not of Mrs. Macron. Fourth, Owens falsely claimed that Mrs. Macron would not state she was in the first communion photo.
Towards the end of episode 2, Owens turned her gaze towards President Macron to begin seeding her eventual claim that he is a product of MKUltra or a similar government mind control program. MKUltra was a secret CIA program that conducted human experiments to develop mind control techniques using drugs, psychological manipulation, and torture.
By the way, Adele said she's French. Scarves are worn like football caps in the U.S. I agree. You could be dead heat of the summer and someone's going to wear a nice shawl. To encourage suspicion, Owens characterized President Macron's childhood as a black hole, with very little information available. She suggested that his upbringing may be linked to a clandestine government plot because his father was a psychiatrist and his mother a pediatrician. Owens referenced the book Chaos about the CIA's MKUltra program and told viewers that its contents were irrelevant as we go along with this series, learning about some government programs which involve a lot of psychiatrists. It's all just kind of fits in. Throughout these statements, Owens promoted the false and defamatory insinuation that President Macron's family background, childhood, and professional rise are not only suspicious, but orchestrated by covert mind control efforts.
This claim is demonstrably false. President Macron has neither participated in, nor is he the product of any government mind control programs. There is no evidence to support this outlandish claim. Owens knew this claim was false when she made it.
Owens also introduced her false claim that the Macrons are committing incest. Specifically, she distorted President Macron's demeanor during a media interaction to claim it's all starting to feel a bit, I don't know, incestuous to me. Owens made it clear that this was a false fact by presenting a side-by-side image of Mrs. Macron's supposed to be nephew, Jean-Jacques, and President Macron in an effort to convince viewers of an apparent resemblance between the two. Jean-Jacques is the biological son of Mrs. Macron's brother, Jean-Michel Trogneux. Owens intentionally implied the image was proof President and Mrs. Macron were blood relatives.
This claim is demonstrably false. The Macrons are not blood relatives. Owens knew this claim was baseless when she said it. The Macrons explicitly told her they were not blood relatives in the DRD.
Get the blood test out, folks. On February 7th, episode 3. On February 7th, defendants premiered the next episode of the series titled Episode 3, One Coincidence Too Many. Defendants announced the episode on Twitter and all the other places.
Episode 3 was premised on Owens' false claims that any coincidences in the Macrons' lives should be viewed as evidence in support of her theory. Among other things, Owens discussed President Macron's relationship with his grandmother, his parents' professions, and Miss Macron's first husband, André Louis. During episode 3, Owens made the following specific false and defamatory claims. We showed you this side-by-side of current President Emmanuel Macron and a person who was supposed to be Brigitte's nephew, his wife's nephew. but these two people who are not supposed to be in any way related look way too much alike. There was no conspiracy here. The MK Ultra was real. The government was obsessed with all of these different programs. Really, the main point of them, trying to condition the brain, trying to brainwash people, sometimes through isolation, which it sounds like Emmanuel Macron spent a ton of time isolated throughout his childhood. I mean, he's acknowledging that he lived through his books, and his friends are acknowledging, or should be friends, are acknowledging that he was kind of a loner and on his own. So they would experiment psychologically through isolation, through drugs, LSD, drugging people to see if they could get them to commit crimes or to commit other acts unwillingly, essentially trying to establish a Manchurian candidate. What is Manchurian?
A Manchurian candidate is like a state, like the state's like a secret political person that has yeah.
So we don't know just how global that program went. We don't know how every element of that program, and one element of that program was, of course, perversions. Well, I can't say that other word, I guess, like committing an assault in order to then establish how it impacts somebody's psyche. Truly evil stuff. Okay, now earlier I told you that Macron's alleged biological parents, you see here up on the screen, had some interesting jobs just off the bat. His father, Jean-Michel Macron, was a psychiatrist. And yes, of course, we know for a fact that psychiatrists have done some evil things, some very evil things throughout the years. What really happened to André Louis who was cremated very quickly, even though his daughter says he was buried. What really happened to André Louis? Did he actually die? Did he escape with the assistance of the Élysée Palace? Did he try to escape, but the Élysée Palace intervened? What is that? Élysée Palace? Élysée Palace?
I think that's like a Élysée Palace. Is that like the French White House? The CIA? I don't know. I'll look it up. Chat room, help us out. Bunch of Americans here. Owens opened episode 3 with one of her most outrageous fabrications, the incest claim. She displayed the side-by-side photo of President Macron and Brigitte Macron's nephew, telling her audience these two people who are not supposed to be in any way related look way too much alike. By the way, all of the French look alike. It was a clear and calculated attempt to convince viewers that the Macrons are blood relatives and that they committed incest. Owens knew the claim was false, but it didn't matter. She recognized the power of exploiting her audience's conspiratorial thinking to boost attention, deepen loyalty, and drive profits.
She then pivoted to another familiar tactic, casting doubt on photos of Miss Macron to support her broader lie that the Macrons are hiding Brigitte's identity. This time, she targeted a wedding photo of Miss Macron and her late husband, André Louis Azier, saying that the bride does not look like Miss Macron and asking who is the person in this photo. Owens posed the question despite acknowledging the existence of a marriage certificate confirming the wedding of Miss Macron and Mr. Azier and listing the best man as Mr. Macron's brother, Jean-Michel.
Still, Owens kept pushing. She falsely claimed that Mrs. Macron had refused to confirm she was the woman in the wedding photo, even though the December retraction demand explicitly identified the woman as Mrs. Macron and noted the photo as one of the many photos documenting her life as a woman.
With her audience growing, so did Owens' distortions. She cast suspicion on the death of André Louis Azier, calling the timing remarkably convenient and implying that the Macrons were lying about the circumstances. She asked whether he was cremated too quickly and floated the idea that either his death was faked or he was silenced by the Élysée Palace. Did he actually die, she asked. Did he escape with the assistance of the Élysée Palace? Did he try to escape, but the Élysée Palace intervened?
Then came the next escalation. Owens involved MK Ultra. She claimed President Macron's grandmother died on April 13th, the date she noted marked Mrs. Macron's birthday and the start of the CIA's MK Ultra program, suggesting the connection was not a coincidence, but a conspiracy. She alleged that President Macron was subjected to isolation as a child to become a Manchurian candidate and claimed the program included perversions and an assault to impact somebody's psyche.
Not stopping there, Owens went after President Macron's parents, implying that their professions were suspicious and asserting without evidence. We know for a fact that psychiatrists have done some evil things. She capped off the tirade by dragging Jeffrey Epstein into the mix, saying there is an Epstein connection in this story. We just haven't gotten to it yet. It is all connected.
Release the files! Owens folded President Macron's mother, Dr. François Nogue, into her fabricated narrative by focusing on her professional work with intersex individuals. Owens twisted Dr. Nogue's role, providing medical care and support to intersex patients in France, into supposed proof that the Macron family was well-versed in identity transformation and therefore part of a coordinated effort to conceal Mrs. Macron's biological sex. The leap is illogical and baseless. There's no connection between Dr. Nogue's work and her daughter-in-law's identity, and Owens ignored the fundamental distinction between being intersex and being transgender. Still without a shred of supporting evidence, Owens falsely claims the Macrons kept this quiet while they got married, deliberately misleading her audience to serve a narrative she knew was false.
Oh, we're on episode 4, Jean-Michel Trogneau. Okay. On February 11th, 2025, defendants released the next episode of the series, titled Episode 4, Jean-Michel Trogneau. Defendants announced the episode on X. The episode can be found on CandaceOwens.com, YouTube, Spotify, and all the other platforms.
Episode 4 was premised on Owens' false recount of Jean-Michel's life and proof that Mrs. Macron was, in fact, Jean-Michel. Owens intentionally released episode 4 on Jean-Michel's birthday, saying, "Happy birthday, Brigitte. Felice anniversaire," as the French would say. During episode 4, Owens made the following specific false and defamatory claims. Today is Jean-Michel Trogneau's birthday. In other words, happy birthday, Brigitte Macron, the First Lady, Brigitte Macron. Macron's immediate family was involved in helping people who had gender issues to become someone else. In other words, they were facilitating the issuing of real government IDs, which allowed people to legally shed themselves of their former identities and their true biological sex. We have to wake up to the fact that that is the reality of the world that we live in today. So what are the implications of that? But what we can't tell you is what exactly happened to André Louis Ozier. We cannot ascertain what happened to him based on the testimony of his first cousin, because it depends on whether or not you believe his partner, the woman who was at his funeral, who claimed that she found tickets to Africa in his pocket, that he had emptied all of his bank accounts. And if you potentially, or you could say, and if you believe the journalist from Paris Match, well then, who then wrote that Andre actually spent the last days of his life in a psychiatric ward being guarded by none other than Alexander Benalla. With forgery, extortion, and most importantly, with access to a woman who can facilitate the changing of identities, it is not enough for any person investigating this case to ask questions like, is this Brigitte Trogneau in the wedding photo? Because we can confirm that this is indeed a photo of a woman named Brigitte Trogneau in that wedding photo where that Brigitte is. We cannot confirm because the First Lady refuses to answer. She has a mother-in-law who helps transgender people get new identities. So you have to essentially understand that you can just take somebody's name. You can become somebody else at a moment's notice. Now, legally, when you become transgender, okay, this brings us to Jean-Michel Trogneau. If it's really you, Brigitte Macron, and you didn't take on the identity of your sister, if it's really you, the only question that remains is, who the hell is Brigitte Macron? And the obvious answer to me, and after you see these photos that you're going to see, one in particular from when Jean-Michel Trogneau was 18, you're going to fall down like I did when I saw it. It's completely crazy. There's no question upon seeing this technology in my mind that Jean-Michel Trogneau is Brigitte Macron. The only question that I have is, what happened to his sister, Brigitte Trogneau?
Owens opened episode 4 with her central baseless narrative of identity theft. She declared today is Jean-Michel Trogneau's birthday. In other words, happy birthday, Brigitte Macron, signaling to her audience that Miss Macron and her brother are the same person. I feel like they covered a lot of that in those bullet points. She teased an explosive photo of Jean-Michel to prove this claim, but refused to show it. Owens questioned who the hell is Brigitte Macron before asserting that the obvious answer is Jean-Michel Trogneau. Owens continued, there is no question that Jean-Michel Trogneau is Brigitte Macron. The only question that I have is what happened to his sister, Brigitte Trogneau. She promised viewers more evidence about what happened to the real Brigitte Trogneau, but it never came.
Yeah, so the bullet is like the exact quote from Candace Owens, and then this is them sort of Sherpa-ing people through what it means. So yeah, it is kind of redundant.
Gotcha.
To further amplify her identity theft claims, Owens concocted a theory that Mrs. Macron gave an interview under the name Veronique, an openly transgender individual, in 1977. Owens said the voice was exactly the same as Mrs. Macron's according to an AI voice analysis, but Owens admitted she doesn't know much about these softwares and provided no evidence that the analysis existed. Owens used this interview to bolster her claim that Jean-Michel transitioned to Mrs. Macron because Jean-Michel was married to a woman named Veronique. Owens described the marriage as only on paper, implying that it was a front for his transition.
Right. To make this claim, not only did Owens ignore publicly available videos and photos of Jean-Michel, including from President Macron's inauguration, but she also ignored facts from her own source. In his book, Broussard admitted the man seen at the inauguration is named Jean-Michel and lives above the Trogneau family shop in Amiens. Owens does not inform her audience of this fact because it entirely debunks her false narrative.
Owens insists that if Mrs. Macron didn't take on the identity of her sister, she would have answered basic questions, ignoring that those answers were in the December retraction demand.
Owens closed episode 4 by continuing to build her false mind control narrative, citing the book Chaos about the Charles Manson murders and the CIA. She claimed these topics are very relevant to President Macron's story, reinforcing her defamatory suggestion that his identity and career are products of covert psychological manipulation.
All right, what a bingo game we have. Epstein, Charles Manson, MK Ultra. We really have the Russia. We really got it all. Displaying her true motive, Owens justified a request for donations with claims that she is risking her safety to protect children from predatory people like the Macrons.
Episode 5, Who Created Emmanuel Jean-Michel Macron? Okay. On February 13th, 2025, defendants premiered the next episode of the series, titled Episode 5, Who Created Emmanuel Jean-Michel Macron? Defendants announced the episode on X. The episode can be found on, and there's all those platforms, including YouTube, Spotify, whatever.
But, I'm going to lose my shit if Bigfoot makes an appearance. If we get... If we find out that Sasquatch is somehow related to Brigitte Macron, I'm going to lose it. Episode 5, show me how big her feet are. Episode 5 is premised on Owens' false and defamatory claim that Emmanuel Macron was specially selected and groomed to be the leader of France so that an unknown secret group of elites could control him. During episode 5, Owens made the following specific false and defamatory claims. This is a good time to tell you that most of what you think you even know about Emmanuel Macron thus far, his legacy, it's just objectively not true. Emmanuel had a major hand up in life. This guy is so private, we don't know much about him. What we do know about him is, I would say, quite sinister. It's quite sinister. It's making me think, I don't know of that movie, The Manchurian Candidate. Brigitte Macron perhaps is Jean-Michel Trogneau. Who are you really? And what is your relationship to Emmanuel Macron? What is Emmanuel Macron's relationship to you? What is the relationship between Emmanuel Macron and Jean-Jacques? It's not feeling like a nephew to me. He's just a puppet, and he has been groomed from that time that he was a child. But groomed by who? Who is his father? Who is his father? Okay, we got Star Wars making Luke is not your father. All right, you get the point. He doesn't really seem to. Whatever. I don't like that movie. What's the guy's name? Darth Vader. That's right. He doesn't really.
Did you just say what's that guy's name about Darth Vader?
Darth Vader, right? What's the guy's name?
Oh my God!
What's the guy who played it? He passed away recently.
Oh yeah, I don't know that either.
Okay, someone in the chat. He doesn't really. James Earl Jones. That's who it is. Who is his father? He doesn't really seem to have close relationships with his parents. Of these, his doctors, perhaps they can change identities and they can change names. This family has this capacity. There are too many similarities between the upbringing of Emmanuel Macron and, as we talked about, the upbringing of Kamala Harris, the upbringing of Barack Obama. These people being raised by their grandparents at a time when we know that the MK Ultra program was running, and there is something very, very wrong here.
In episode 5, Owens doubled down on her most outrageous lies, painting the Macrons as criminal masterminds, propping up a false identity with forged photos and a fabricated past. She opened by claiming the images the public sees can't be trusted because they were supposedly manufactured by a French public relations consultant, Mimi Marchand, who Owens insisted has an extensive criminal history and has been accused of many a forgery, many an extortion, and is in a lot of trouble right now.
Owens embraced the false theory that President Macron is a modern Manchurian candidate handpicked and groomed by shadowy elites. Owens stated, most of what you think you know about Emmanuel Macron, it's just objectively not true, and suggests that his entire life was staged for this role. Speaking directly to him, she said, you know how to act and pretend that you are the president. Clearly somebody behind you has been moving you all through life.
She tied the She tied this alleged grooming to the Rothschild family, a prominent Jewish banking family with historic influence in European finance, which has long been the target of anti-Semitic conspiracy theories and harmful tropes. She told viewers she would not say much about the Rothschilds, so the episode doesn't get hit on YouTube, but suggested they look up proven ties to Jeffrey Epstein and scandals involving PDF files and incest surrounding them.
Owens portrayed President Macron as a puppet, groomed from the time that he was a child, questioning his family ties. Who is his father? He doesn't really seem to have a close relationship with his parents or his doctors, perhaps. They can change identities and they can change names. She framed his entire biography as part of a global operation steeped in perversion and pedo and grooming. Drawing false parallels with other leaders, she claimed there were too many similarities between the upbringing of Emmanuel Macron, Kamala Harris, and Barack Obama, all supposedly raised during the era of MK Ultra mind control experiments.
Owens capped it off by escalating her incest narrative, turning directly to Miss Macron, who sanctioned these lies in the press. What is Emmanuel Macron's relationship to you? What is the relationship between Emmanuel Macron and Jean-Jacques? It's not feeling like a nephew to me. She then flatly lied. They won't answer that. In truth, the Macrons unequivocally denied the incest claim in their December retraction demand.
Episode 6, on February 17, 2025, defendants launched episode 6 of the series titled Candace Owens and Xavier Poussard. Defendants announced the episode on Twitter. The first 20 minutes of the episode were available on YouTube and all the other places. Yeah, there you go.
All right. Let's get through episode 6, and then I gotta go pack.
Okay.
So, but I can definitely hang in.
Oh no, I've appreciated the help. You're the best.
Yeah, for sure. I wish I could stay longer. It's just I have to catch a flight tomorrow. So
where are you going? Paris?
I will text you. I don't want to tell anyone these days where I'm going. I'm getting a lot more attention than I'm used to. So
Paris it is. All right, enjoy.
Yeah, I'll tell you, but not here. Episode 6 features an interview by Owens of Poussard, her primary source. Despite knowing that Poussard walked Ray and Roy into defamation liability in France, Owens decided to air Poussard's false claims, not once but twice, to a global audience and expand on them. Owens told the world she was releasing episode 6 because the Macrons sent her a retraction demand, proving her motive is revenge, not the truth.
During episode 6, Owens made the following specific false and defamatory one claim. She only made one defamatory claim this whole episode. I think a year from now, most of the world will be awakened to the fact that what I said 1 year ago is true. I believe that Emmanuel Macron is a homosexual man that was groomed from his youth. I believe the individual who groomed him is now his wife. I believe that his wife was born Jean-Michel Trogneau and transitioned in his early 30s. I believe that the entire state is colluding to protect that secret. And like I said, I would stake my entire professional career on all of those points.
Defendants published several false and defamatory X posts in support of episode 6. In those X posts, Owens made the following specific false and defamatory claims. Emmanuel Macron married a man, which was illegal at the time that he did it. And this is a Candace Owens post. It says exclusively on CandaceOwens.com, credit to Xavier Poussard. This was years of his hard work and fighting the Macrons in court to release photos of Jean-Michel. Emmanuel Macron married a man, which was illegal at the time he did it. And there's the girl you like, also the girl you like. It's not funny, but it's shocking. So I have to laugh. So
I'm not judging you.
Yeah. Why did he send me the legal letter? 1, because Brigitte, I'm still saying Brigitte. Brigitte can still be prosecuted for this crime against a minor up until the end of this year. 2, because his marriage was an illegal act. Emmanuel Macron broke the law, when he married his groomer. Okay, so that's just she's saying the same in that wording there.
In episode 6, Owens and Poussard laid out their full conspiracy theory, anchoring their defamatory claims with manufactured evidence. They alleged without a credible basis that Mrs. Macron is actually Jean-Michel, born male, who later committed incest with President Macron, who himself, they claim, is a product of a mind control program and a Manchurian candidate. They further asserted that the Macrons conspired to manipulate the media, falsify records, and use state power to suppress the truth. Owens presented this narrative as fact, not opinion, despite knowing its utter falsity.
To bolster these outrageous claims, Owen and Poussard obsessed over Miss Macron's childhood photos, asserting without proof that images were doctored to hide her true identity. Poussard claimed a young Jean-Michel was airbrushed out of the family photo, though neither he nor Owens pointed to a single source. Owens dismissed the 2021 Daily Mail debunking article by saying she did not need to understand the theory about Ms. Macron's biological sex. She could just see Ms. Macron was actually Jean-Michel. When confronted with the First Communion photo, which undermines her theory, Owens shrugged off reality, claiming it was too modern and had simply been colorized to look older, an assertion she previously contradicted after receiving the DRD. Owens further downplayed the wedding photo, claiming it was not of Miss Macron without providing an alternative explanation. Her confidence is based not on facts, but on a determination to stick to a false but sensational narrative.
While discrediting the publicly available photos, disproving their thesis, Owens and Poussard alluded to other photos that support their claims without showing them to the audience. Poussard claimed to possess photos that would prove Mrs. Macron is Jean-Michel and that the real Brigitte no longer exists, but he never produced them. They similarly claimed that Jean-Michel is not the man from the inauguration video, but never provided their proof or an alternative explanation.
Owens asked, where is the real Brigitte Macron today? They concocted a fiction that Jean-Michel assumed his sister's identity in 1986 and married President Macron under this false persona, committing identity theft. Unsurprisingly, despite admitting she actually existed, neither Owens nor Poussard explained what happened to the real Brigitte Macron.
Owens then escalated the rhetoric to claim that France is run by a deranged homosexual with his child victim, accusing Mrs. Macron of criminal conduct and suggesting that President Macron is the abused child. She pushed further by suggesting that the Macrons are related by blood and committing incest based on perceived facial resemblances between President Macron and Mrs. Macron's nephew, Jean-Jacques, whom Poussard falsely claimed may be Mrs. Macron's child.
Owens and Poussard agreed that there was a secret group of criminal elites controlling President Macron. Poussard stated, it's time we ask ourselves the question, are these young leaders being engineered and controlled by blackmail? Owens endorsed this claim, telling her audience, I do think, and this is rather conclusively, that the world is sort of waking up to this concept that leaders are selected and primed and groomed and sort of inserted into powerful positions. She linked this theory directly to Ms. Macron, concluding this is kind of the same thing with Brigitte Macron. Poussard noted that Macron's marriage is fraudulent and that France has placed in power a couple whose entire identity is based upon a fraudulent construct, forgery, PDF file stuff, and the abuse of a minor.
To explain why this dark family secret has remained secret thus far, Owens and Poussard accused the Macrons of abusing the French Secret Service and judiciary to silence critics. Owens even asked whether Poussard fears for his life, suggesting that the Macrons are willing to kill to protect their fraudulent construct. Next, we have the epilogue, but that's it for the Court of Random Opinion. Lauren, thank you so much for joining us, and plug your stuff away.
All right, I'll be well, I don't really have any stuff to plug right now, man. I'm just kind of taking things as they go. I was not expecting all the attention this week, obviously, so.
You're famous.
Yeah.
You're absolutely famous. There's your page right there, the Court of Random Opinion.
Yeah.
You've leaped from 0 to 24,000 subscribers. I'm actually surprised you don't have more. You're crushing it. And if everyone could give you a subscribe, that would be very nice. And let me know how Des Moines is or wherever the hell you're going. And
you know.
Come back anytime. I doubt I'm going to finish this tonight. So if I'm doing it again, I'll let you know.
Well, I'll be listening while I pack my bag. So
appreciate it. Stuff that bag.
Thanks, Dave.
All right, everybody. That's Lauren. Fantastic. Oh boy. I don't do many lives anymore, just, busy and stuff, but it's always good to get to partake in such a fun, storied tradition of reading court documents as you pack. Packing, let me tell you this, the number one thing that sucks with a marriage is packing with your spouse when you're going on a trip. Let me tell you guys, my wife takes forever to pack her shit. Oh boy, I can pack 13 minutes before a flight. I throw everything into a bag and I go. She needs to steam clean and fold. And should I take this? And then she doesn't know what she wants to take. Next thing you know, I'm checking a whole bag full of boots. Save me. We love her, though. We love her. Let's do a couple super chats here. Low Mills with $5 more says, since when is taking what you believe is a crime? Well, it's called defamation. But I appreciate the chat. Yeah, you're allowed to share your opinion, but not if you've been provided a threshold of evidence. So, I can say, look, I think Barack Obama's gay, which again wouldn't be defamatory to say, but if someone that's a bad example, but you understand what I'm saying. It's getting late. Rose said, Christian conservative here. Candace, I love Candace, but this is crazy. Slowly opening my eyes and becoming more of a centrist. People need to think for themselves. And again, maybe Candace is right here. It is, I understand what makes a conspiracy feel good. That's why you got to stress test it. I'm not saying it's right or wrong. It's certainly implausible, but she provides the links for this all to be true. I just usually believe the simple explanation. That's why I don't believe in too many conspiracies other than Bigfoot. Malaki says, wow, her fans know she'll win and her haters know she'll lose. It's a shame how impossible it seems to be to just hush, wait and see. No, I completely agree with that. You know, I thought it was interesting that Dr. Drew is friends with Candace Owens and he thinks she's in a lot of trouble, which I found interesting. You know what I mean? A lot of people that, you know, have covered this, lawyers are like, man, Candace Owens is absolutely screwed. What do I know? Listen, if Candace Owens turns out to be right, then we'll find out, you know, but like for me, I don't feel like I'll have egg on my face if I'm wrong. I'll put it this way. I'm not staking my entire life and credibility on believing Candace. I'm not. But you know, I'll put it this way, if I had to, I wouldn't be investing in her coming out of this thing clean. I just wouldn't. Defendants released the epilogue. Defendants released the last episode of the series titled The Epilogue on February 20th, 2025. During the epilogue, Owens told her listeners that in all the previous episodes, she had stuck strictly to the facts. What did that get her? A lawsuit. Defendants announced the episode on Twitter. Got all that. The epilogue is premised on Owens' false and defamatory claim that a family member molested President Macron and the President and Mrs. Macron are committing incest. Owens linked these false and defamatory claims of molestation and incest with equally false claims that the Rothschilds, Trogneau, and Macron families are intertwined blood relatives. Everyone's related over here. During the epilogue, Owens made the following claims. I'm not going to read that part. I'm just going to read the next part because they double cover it. In the epilogue, Owens explicitly accused Mrs. Macron of an identity swap, falsely claiming that the Élysée Palace, which, by the way, what is Élysée Palace? Élysée Palace. What is it? Is it the Élysée Palace? Is that like the White House? Is that like their version of the state? Official residence in Paris. Okay, so that's where they live. It's their official. Who lives there now? The president of France. So they live in the Élysée. I should have known that. State school education. What can you do? Very nice. Looks good. Falsely claiming that the Élysée Palace refused to confirm recent photos of Jean-Michel Trogneau as the same person pictured in a 1953 family photo from Amiens. This is demonstrably false. The Macrons explicitly confirmed his identity in their December retraction demand, a section Owens herself read out loud in episode 1. Later, while reviewing the inauguration footage, Owens repeated that they won't answer for sure whether the man shown in Mrs. Macron's brother, ignoring that the Macrons had already provided her with the footage and stills affirming it is Jean-Michel. She bolstered the identity theft claims by stating the family could destroy identities and create identities using shared names to make it very easy to move through the family and share identifications. Owens urged viewers to come forward with any information about the mystery of Brigitte Trogneau's whereabouts, asking whether she was given a different name or died young after having children. So if this family was so good at manipulating identities, couldn't this family fake childhood, make a fake paper trail for Brigitte Macron? You know? I don't know. It's like if they were that good at MK Ultra, why would they leave a 30-year gap? Why wouldn't they have put information out there? Because if you're really trying to build a fake identity over the course of years, you would have all of that. Megan Fox said, "What page are we on?" We are on page 80. Hey, Megan, how are you? Megan went to the Killers concert tonight, which I'm sure was a blast. I would love. Yeah, is 80 good or bad, Megan? I don't know. I'm trying. I'm reading very fast. Megan Fox from the Fox Den. Yet again, Owens raised incest claims precisely because she knew how outrageous and sensational the claims were. She deliberately appealed to prurient interest to draw attention and boost her audience, exploiting shock value to keep viewers engaged. Owens asserted a key takeaway from the series was that Mrs. Macron may be President Macron's father. She speculated that the Rothschild and Trogneau families are connected, explaining President Macron's promotion at Rothschild Bank, and concluded without basis that we are looking potentially at incest. Boy, that's a saying you don't hear too often. To reinforce this, she claimed Jean-Jacques Trogneau looks almost identical to Emmanuel Macron, again implying a hidden family relationship. She declared the series will remain free because how could you talk about a story that involves incest and children and the criminal activities of government and put it behind a paywall? Owens promoted Poussard's Becoming Brigitte book as containing way more pedo criminals than the series, indicating to her audience that she has even more evidence against the Macrons if only they buy the book. Owens took her final jab at President Macron, accusing him of lying about his origins, claiming they're not actually his mom and dad. Yet again, she cited his parents' professions, a psychiatrist father and a pediatrician mother, as evidence of deliberate identity manipulation, again pushing the false narrative that President Macron's entire life is staged. Owens ended with a direct inflammatory call for President Macron's removal. Emmanuel Macron, you have lied repeatedly to the French people. You have harassed journalists. You are a monster and not a monster of your own doing. You were targeted when you were a child, and what you have done is unforgivable as a leader. She dismissed his authority. It's just ridiculous to pretend that he has any power. Whatever shadow is behind you, fly it over so they can have a conversation with President Trump. Owens concluded, we know you were created. You are not real. You have no thoughts of your own. You are the Manchurian candidate and have absolutely no power. She tied this alleged manipulation back to Mrs. Macron, accusing her of grooming President Macron into a psychopathic figure who enjoyed harming people. Macron sent a final retraction demand, putting defendants on notice of the false and defamatory claims in the series. Even after the series concluded, Owens continued to exploit the Macrons for content. As detailed below, she repeated her claims in interviews with other podcasters. She insisted that Mrs. Macron was a man whenever the Macrons appeared in the news. She publicized President Trump's request for her to stop spreading the rumors and falsely claimed that President Macron refused to help end the war in Ukraine until Owens stopped speaking about Mrs. Macron. She falsely tied President Macron to Jeffrey Epstein. Owens was relentless. On July 1st, 2025, the Macrons sent the July retraction demand, this time addressing the false and defamatory claims from the series. The July retraction demand referenced and incorporated the December and February retraction demands and explicitly stated that Mrs. Macron has always been a woman. She is not President Macron's blood relative, and President Macron was not involved in a mind control program. Furthermore, it stated that these truths completely invalidate Owens' false claims. Yet again, rather than retracting her claims or simply refraining from commenting, Owens decided to use the July retraction demand for content. Owens lied to her audience and stated that the Macrons had never told her they were not blood relatives. She then read her audience a list of false and defamatory statements included in the appendix to the July retraction demand. Next, defendants published the July retraction demand in its attached appendix to CandaceOwens.com. Owens made her refusal to retract clear, stating, we are not getting in line. We've said, file your lawsuits, my friend. Owens then claimed the July retraction demand was the result of the Macrons' law firm running up the tab and taking their money and lying to them about what defamation means in America. Lying to them, maybe it is that law firm being sleazy and running up the tab. The Macrons never received a direct response to the July retraction demand. Defendants published Owens' false and defamatory claims with actual malice, that is, with a knowledge that they were false or with reckless disregard for the truth. Owens published her false and defamatory statements in the series with actual knowledge that they were false or, at a minimum, with reckless disregard for the falsity of the truth. Indeed, there is substantial evidence that, at an absolute minimum, Owens recklessly disregarded the truth in publishing the defamatory statements. Most egregiously, prior to the release of the series, the December retraction demand was squarely addressed the central defamatory themes Owens intends to publish, providing clear, documented evidence that refutes those falsehoods. And again, I don't know exactly what that evidence is. Sarar says she called herself yesterday a podcast mom in a basement. Are you talking about Candace Owens? Yeah, Candace Owens is trying to play the victim here, which is hilarious because she's extremely wealthy and has a huge, huge platform. She is not the victim. Most egregiously, prior to the release of the series, instead, she selectively quoted isolated phrases out of context, misleading her viewers by falsely suggesting that these excerpts constituted the entirety of the Macrons' response. Most importantly, Owens informed her audience that the Macrons had not denied any of her allegations, a demonstrable and deliberate lie intended to bolster the credibility of her preconceived narrative. Her conduct reveals not only a reckless disregard for the truth, but also a calculated attempt to deceive her audience and defame the Macrons. Emily said DNA would obviously clear it up immediately, but they want Candace to fry for bringing the presidency into disrepute with accusations of identity theft and pedo. Even setting aside the multiple retraction demand, there is overwhelming evidence of actual malice. Owens' central claim that President and Mr. Macron fabricated their identities, engaged in incest, participated in MKUltra, and are part of a criminal syndicate engaged in identity theft, forgery, fraud, abuses of power, and even murder is inherently implausible on its face. She relied on fringe conspiracy theorists and discredited figures as her primary source, while disregarding readily available public records and credible reporting that directly contradicted her narrative. Her refusal to engage with contradictory facts and her deliberate elevation of fabrications over truth demonstrate a reckless disregard for the truth. Amberino said, the Macrons have recently lost 2 defamation cases in France. There is no actual malice, which is the only way to prove defamation. Candace believes these claims. Well, remember that the Macrons won the defamation case, then lost it on appeal. But when they lost it on appeal, the judge, they specifically said that these claims were baseless that the podcasters were making, but it was lost because it didn't reach the threshold because being trans is not considered defamation. So there's a lot to that lawsuit in France, and it won't speak for the one here. Owens' repetition, promotion, and endorsement of an inherently improbable conspiracy theory is evidence of actual malice. Although the indisputable facts all point to the conclusion that President and Mr. Macron have not lied about their identities or history, Owens remains dead set on creating a media circus to build her viewership and wealth by hawking false, inherently improbable, and defamatory claims about the Macrons, including identity theft, incest, and mind control, deeply damaging the Macrons' reputation. I don't think Candace Owens is doing this for money. I think she might believe it, but I think she might recklessly be disregarding the Macrons' evidence. She's seeing, when you're a hammer, everything looks like a nail. Do you know what I mean? Yeah. Owens' okay, I said that. Owens' sources are facially unreliable. It is baffling that Owens would stake her entire professional reputation on the word of a so-called clairvoyant, Roy, and amateur detective Ray. Worse still, Owens chose to repeat and republish their accusations, despite Ray and Roy having been found liable for defamation by a French court regarding those very claims, which again was turned over on appeal. Furthermore, relying on Xavier Poussard, the prior writer for Fait et Document, a newsletter known for its anti-Semitism and conspiracy theories, further discredits these facially ridiculous accusations. Not only are Ray and Roy facially unreliable, but they also display ill will towards the Macrons. Indeed, Ray attempted to influence French policy with these claims, as she stated to Roy that her evidence of the First Lady's transition was in a sealed envelope deposited with a lawyer whose name is well known and would be made public the day vaccines are made obligatory. I'll bring the vaccine to it. Thank you so much to Malak for the super chat. Said, Dave, it's a fact that Candace is a journalist, podcaster, YouTuber, but you call BS when she mentions it. Why is that? And if she's not that, then what? No. I didn't call BS to her being a podcaster, a YouTuber, and a journalist. Not whatsoever. If you follow my content, you know that I completely, endorse the new age world of podcasters and journalists and whatever. What I laugh at is that Candace Owens tries to make herself look like, oh, I'm just a little podcaster. Here's the big government coming after me. And it's like, all right, well, she's 100 millionaire, her and her husband, or at least close. I think he's worth $80 million. And so there's no damsel in distress here. Not only are Ray and Roy facially unreliable, but they also display ill will towards Macrons. I already got that part. Roy is biased against President Macron due to an incident where she claimed she was not well treated during a call to the Elysee Palace. This incident allegedly occurred just after President Macron's 2017 election. Roy contacted the palace after experiencing a premonition that terror groups were going to attack a French nuclear power station, but was disbelieved for obvious reasons. Indeed, this is not the first unfounded rumor about the Macrons Roy has spread on her YouTube channel. She has often falsely claimed that President Macron is gay, as well as other rumors about the Macrons' private lives. He's not gay, he's just French. The French look gay. They're metrosexual. They're stylish people. Owens' political bias against President and Mrs. Macron was evident during her July 1st, 2024 episode of Candace, when she stated she does not know how long Brigitte Macron is going to be leading the country behind her husband, because Marine Le Pen's far-right group was expected to win, which Owens found extremely promising. Owens further claimed Macron has no power. Brigitte has been running the show. This political bias, too, is circumstantial evidence of Owens' actual malice, especially where she has read and ignored reliable sources debunking these falsehoods. By the way, Candace Owens is now saying that Brigitte Macron will die, or they'll fake her death as a way to get out of it. That's what she's saying now. Which, by the way, if that does happen, that would be crazy. Owens has openly demonstrated her ill will and retaliatory intent toward the Macrons, further evidencing actual malice. In interviews with multiple podcasters, Owens admitted that she initially intended to release only a single episode of the series. However, upon receiving the December retraction demand, which directly refuted her false claims, Owens responded not by reassessing the accuracy of her reporting, but by escalating her defamatory campaign. She stated, "Now we're doing a whole series because how dare you," making clear that the series was motivated by personal animus rather than any legitimate journalistic purpose. She further warned that if the Macrons were to contact her again regarding her false accusations, she'd retaliate by producing a second season. These statements reflect a deliberate intent to harm, not a good faith effort to report the truth. Low Mills says, Candace isn't worried at all. $2. Thank you for the super chat. I do appreciate it. I to be quite honest, if you watch Candace Owens being interviewed, and I covered this today, you can check out my video by Tucker Carlson. I think she's a little rattled. I think she's absolutely worried about this. I mean, I would be. You have to understand, Candace Owens has thick skin, but you're talking about a years-long court battle she's now going to be in. I feel bad for her kids. I feel like she's going to become obsessed over this. I wouldn't want to be her. I mean, not with respect to how much time and energy and money this is going to cost her. Owens intentionally disregarded key sources that have forcefully, publicly, and repeatedly debunked her dubious claims. Owens admitted that she reviewed reliable sources debunking the conspiracy. Indeed, Owens learned about the allegations from the 2021 Daily Mail debunking article. That article provided substantial evidence of the probable falsity of the allegations. Owens also received 3 retraction demands letters from the Macrons, which explicitly stated that her claims were false and included evidence to support this. Owens intentionally disregarded the sources in favor of her preconceived narrative is evidence of actual malice. There's no doubt and I understand that point, right? That like, look, you can say all you want, you believe something, but when you're presented with evidence, and again, we'll have to see what this evidence is, right? Because we haven't seen all of this evidence, but when you're presented with evidence, you can't disregard it. And again, I don't even know, like, is it 100% one way or 100% the other? The problem with what Owens is saying is, there's some things that are true. The parts that are true is that Brigitte Macron, for sure, met Emmanuel when he was young, and that's disgusting and all of that. So, I think a lot of people believe these things because there's morsels of truth to it. What are they saying? It's easier to fool someone than to convince them they've been fooled. Is that the saying? And again, I'm not saying that's necessarily the case here. Beth said, Dave, Candace absolutely believes Macron is a man. Right, but if she believes he's a man, okay, say Brigitte Macron is, say it's proven that she's born a woman, right? She shares blood tests or whatever. Candace would still be liable for defamation if they provided her that. You can't just believe it in your bones. You have to disregard the truth and the evidence that's right there. And we don't know exactly what was sent to her. So I'm not staking my reputation on it. I don't know. Here we go. We have a U.S. attorney. Nina said, as a U.S. attorney, I absolutely think Candace is in trouble for this one. Defamation suits are difficult to win for public figures, but the evidence of her reckless disregard for the truth is tremendous. Well, thank you. We have a U.S. attorney right here. The Attorney General has weighed in. I don't know if you're the Attorney General, maybe. All right. There's no doubt that Owens had a preconceived storyline before she began her reporting. In March of 2024, she told the world she was staking her entire reputation on being a man. Owens made these false accusations because they supported that preconceived storyline, despite the inherent improbability of her accusations and the unreliability of her sources, made even more ludicrous when compared to the credibility of the sources debunking her assertions. This is evident in Owens' refusal to provide her audience with evidence that contradicts her claims and her knowingly false denial that such evidence exists. Yeah, I think what could have happened here is in the retraction reply, there might have been 10 pages of response, and Candace might have zoned in on one or two things that might have still serviced her conspiracy. Yeah. Owens was also financially motivated to create a scandal. The series was aggressively monetized and used to solicit donations, promote subscriptions, and elevate her personal brand. Her conduct reveals a clear motive to generate controversy for financial and reputational gain. She will say anything, regardless of how outrageous or unfounded, to attract attention, build her platform, and achieve notoriety. After being fired from the Daily Mail, Owens needed to produce the kind of sensational content that would ignite her followers to contribute financially. Currently, Owens' show appears to rely heavily on funding from audiences and advertisers' support of her false claims about the Macrons. Owens has tricked fans into believing she is on a righteous mission rather than a merely profitable one, as evidenced by the merchandise she sells on CandaceOwens.com. She has monetized a conspiracy theorist label and profited from her lies about the Macrons. There it is, Man of the Year t-shirt, selling for €28.95. In Owen's September 18th appearance on Piers Morgan Uncensored, she flatly admitted that she relies on fan donations to keep her podcast up and running since being demonetized by YouTube. A week earlier, she had claimed in her September 11th Twitter post that YouTube demonetized her account because she was exposing the global ring of satanic pedophiles currently through the Macron conspiracy theory. In reality, YouTube had demonetized Owens' account for violating its hate speech policies. Owens' financial motives for publishing the series are clear because she repeatedly solicited donations in every episode. Although YouTube has monetized her channel once again, she has publicly stated that her goal is to become financially independent from the platform. To that end, defendants have rebuilt Owens' website to host content that she knows would be removed or demonetized under YouTube's content moderation policies. Indeed, one episode of the series is dubbed Too Hot for YouTube on Owens' website. In every episode of the series, Owens asks her audience to support her work financially. She pairs these requests with assertions that she is engaged in a mission to reveal the truth, and that effort to hold her accountable as part of a broader attempt to suppress free speech and religion. Owens characterizes criticisms and fact-checking of her claims as censorship and attacks on her religious beliefs. These appeals reinforce her false narrative and encourage her audience to financially support her despite the lack of credible evidence to substantiate the defamatory claims she promotes. Her financial incentive and motive to make the defamatory accusations further prove actual malice. Now, Wink says, oh, he will be back. Who? Me? Someone else. Yeah, look. I get why they have to do this part. They have to prove that Owens was doing this financially speaking, but I don't think that's a strong case. I mean, it's like, I don't know. But I mean, you got to do that. You got to add the financial aspect to it. What'll be interesting is how the Macrons prove that they've lost money, right? That's part of it. Is like you have to prove that this has been kind of hurtful to you. Goosebump said content creators asking for donations proves nothing. I agree. So if anyone wants to send me a super chat, no, I agree with you. It's like it's so normal. In I always scoff at the idea of people shaming people. It's like, look, Candace is going to have some aspects of her show be free to the public, and then there'll be some things behind a paywall. Like that's so normal. But anyway, we get it. So let's go. Let's continue. Taken together, Owens' deliberate misrepresentation and manufacturing of evidence, the inherent improbability of our accusations, her reliance on facially unreliable sources, her bias and ill will, her intentional disregard of reliable sources, her preconceived storyline, her financial incentive, and her refusal to retract in the face of contradictory evidence are clear and convincing evidence of actual malice. Again, we got to see what they sent her in these retraction emails. Gianna said, hold on, let's read Gianna here. Dave is a spineless clout chaser who believes in the justice system after what happened with Diddy and Epstein. You suck, man. Key. Thank you. Nina says, Owens never retracts when debunked. She claims Kamala lied about being black, but the birth record she cited referred to a different individual with a similar name to Beryl Harris' grandma. Yeah, I don't like people that can't set the record straight. I mean, I literally, when I started covering this, I like changed my opinion about because initially when I was going to cover this, I said, I don't want to watch her stupid documentary. And then people were like, no, you need to watch it in order to cover it. And I was like, okay. So I did. But yeah, I have a spine. I can crack it for you. I have a 40-year-old spine. But anyway, whatever. You can. What you think of me is none of my business, unless you want to send me a super chat, and then I'll read it. Let's continue. Others amplified and republished Owens' fault. Oh, this is where it gets interesting. Other people amplified Owens' claims. Low Mills with $5 super chat. Thank you, Low Mills. People were saying that Brigitte was a man well before Candace started saying it. It's just that she has a larger audience. Yeah, I mean, and again, one thing doesn't make the other right. It's not that she said she's a man. It's all of the other conspiracies. But yeah, I agree with you. Like, Candace didn't invent this. But boy, is she effed. Owens continued promoting her false claims after the conclusion of the series. On February 21st, Owens again accused Mrs. Macron of lying about her identity and grooming President Macron. Then egging on the Macrons, Owens said, "Where's your lawsuit? Where's your lawsuit, Brigitte? When are you going to drop it?" Yikes. Oh! She was begging for this lawsuit. Owens' false claims were picked up by other influential podcasters after the conclusion of the series. This included Joe Rogan, who is widely accepted as the most popular podcaster in the world. Currently, his podcast, Joe Rogan Experience, has over 20 million subscribers on YouTube. It's available on the Spotify, Audible, all these places. Rogan has 20 million followers on Instagram, 15 million on Twitter. Rogan was ranked the #1 podcast in the United States as of Q4 2024. On March 22nd, 2025, Rogan discussed the series on the Joe Rogan Experience. Rogan said, Macron's a man. Yeah, Brigitte Macron's a man. Owens got me hook, line, and sinker. The March 22nd episode has more than 720,000 views. Thank you so much to Meandering for the $10 super chat. Much appreciated. You guys rock. Means a lot. Make sure I get that unstarred there. On April 3rd, 2025, Rogan discussed Owens' popularity on YouTube. Rogan stated, Candace Owens show, it's on YouTube. It's doing better numbers than any of the shows on cable news. It's phenomenal. She can't be stopped. Rogan highlighted the series, stating she's got a 6-hour presentation on how Brigitte Macron is a man. I think she's right. In support of that claim, Rogan stated Owens would be getting sued right now instead of trying to bribe her. Instead of trying to give her money to shut the F up, they would sue her. And again, Rogan is kind of an idiot. So, like, lawsuits take a little bit of time, right? The Macrons have never offered Owens any type of bribe or money settlement to stop speaking about them. Owens endorsed and repeated Rogan's statements by playing the clip from his April 3rd episode. On the April 7th episode of Candace, Owens stated he is the biggest podcaster in the world. Owens did not refute the false claim that the Macrons tried to bribe her. Instead, she said he is not lying. There's so much that's happening in France right now that I actually said to my team, we're going to have to do a Becoming Brigitte season 2. The updates that we have in that case, what has come out since, and once again, the things that the mainstream media are completely neglecting to cover. Owens continued, I have some stories to tell you that I have to keep my mouth shut about. I really want to tell you guys, and I'm going to tell you eventually, but I'm thinking we're going to have to do a season 2 of Becoming Brigitte. By the way, that's probably what convinced them to sue her, realizing that she just wasn't going to go away. Fascinating stuff. Brian with a $5 super chat. Candace begged for the lawsuit because she wanted all the claims to be proven in discovery. Well, I mean, maybe, but I mean, if she's on the wrong side of this, she's not going to want to be begging for it anymore. And we'll have to see. But why the hell would Brigitte Macron sue her, knowing full well these are smart people, that they would have to be deposed, that they would have to prove their case and all of that? That's what I can't get behind. Why would they sue her? On February 19th, 2025, comedian Tom Segura and Christina Pazitsky discussed Owens on their podcast, Your Mom's House. Your Mom's House has 2.13 million subscribers on YouTube, 130,000 followers on Twitter. Segura has 685,000 subscribers on YouTube. Pazitsky, okay, so they go through all of that. It's a big podcast. Pazitsky stated the series is huge and Owens has a ton of evidence. Pazitsky repeated that Owens is staking her career on the fact that Brigitte Macron, the first lady of France, is actually a man. Pazitsky repeated the false claim that Mrs. Macron is actually Jean-Michel. When Segura asked why this is important, Pazitsky summed up Owens' overarching theory that it's not just that this woman is a man. That implication for this being, if this really is a man who transitioned to a woman, is because having a relationship with a 14-year-old boy is completely inappropriate and illegal and wrong. Secondly, in the government, they're protecting pedos because she believes that this is a pedo culture and they're protecting pedos. There are also links to the Rothschild family. Brigitte Macron is actually a Rothschild, which is like the biggest banking company in France. I know, and they're protecting each other's interests. There's incest. There's all kinds of gross things, satanic cults. In a subsequent episode on March 5th, Segura and Pazitsky discuss Owens' pivotal role in making the false claim about the Macrons global. Segura said Owens is a leader in the story. Pazitsky agreed, saying, this is Candace Owens' big moment right now. She has exposed Brigitte Macron. And by the way, this is what happens. When you think you're like having this amazing moment, you get blinded to any evidence debunking it, if that's the case. On March 5th, Owens appeared on This Past Weekend with Theo Von to discuss the series. Theo Von is a popular comedian and podcaster, 4 million subscribers on YouTube. Von's podcast is available all over the place. He was ranked number 5 in the U.S. His episode with Owens has 3.4 million views on YouTube. In her discussion with Von, Owens claims that 1,000% Mrs. Macron was born a man, lived as a man for 30 years, and then transitioned at some time in the 80s. See, this is where you're like, it's like you're not saying it as opinion. You're saying it at this point as fact. Vaughn asked Owens whether she was concerned about being sued for her statement. She replied, I've welcomed the lawsuit. I only presented the facts. In the same clip, Owens falsely stated that President Macron was 14 and Mrs. Macron was 40 when the couple met, and they don't deny that, something Owens has repeatedly recognized and Macrons do refute. On March 14th, Tucker Carlson hosted Clayton Morris on the Tucker Carlson Show. The Tucker Carlson Network is a streaming platform launched by Tucker Carlson in December of 2023 following his departure from Fox News. TCN broadcast Carlson's podcast, Tucker Carlson Show. So to show how big the audience is during the episode, Morris gave Owens full credit for really opening the story up from the French journalist who first broke it. Morris summarized Owens' reporting on Mrs. Macron, stating he's a groomer. Emmanuel Macron was a child, and this man takes him under his wing and is a groomer, uses the identity of another human being. Brigitte Macron is a man who groomed Emmanuel Macron. Morris went on to discuss the mechanism protecting these people involved in child sex trafficking, stating that when you have people like Brigitte Macron who are like groomers of children, it makes sense that they would be protected. Carlson agreed. These elite circles, it's incredibly disgusting. It's wild. It's wild. Wonder's Life said she will move on to someone who won't sue her. She's begging, won't lose her lesson, just claims she's right, like Trump. Yeah, she can't move on from this now. Owens reported on Carlson's coverage of her claims. She played a clip of Carlson and Morris discussing the series. And this is the ecosystem, right? You will say something, someone covers it, then you cover them saying it, then and it goes back and forth. It's like sort of the what's it called? The human centipede of YouTube. Owens reported on Carlson's coverage of her claims. She played a clip of, in the same episode, Owens said, I was only going to do one episode of Brigitte, and I met with Xavier and did an interview with him. I was only going to do one episode, and then my pregnant butt waddled outside, and there was a 100-page legal letter being served to me. And I was like, game on, let's go to war. Owens told her audience, when I bring something to you, I hope you have enough trust to know that I would never just say stuff like I wouldn't just say stuff. I don't just say stuff. And that's why I staked my entire professional career on the Becoming Brigitte series. On April 3rd, Owens discussed President Macron with Ian Carroll, who hosts the Ian Carroll Show on YouTube. And on an episode of Candace, Ian Carroll has 316,000 subscribers on YouTube and all of his following. Owens stated Emmanuel Macron was an actor. He has no power. Anybody who has watched my Brigitte Macron series walks away and understands that he has never been in control. On April 7th, Owens appears on Keeping It Real with Jillian Michaels, saying she only stuck to the facts in the series. Jillian Michaels is a popular... So more people are Owens boasted that Joe Rogan was fully convinced of her claims. Again, she transitioned when she was in her early 30s, became a teacher, got the Adam's apple surgery, met Macron. I mean, everything they told you about this woman was just fictitious. It was made up because she's connected to a tremendous amount of power in France. Low Mills, $10. You're crushing it tonight, Low Mills. Star of the show. That was an illegal relationship. You cannot pursue any type of relationship with a 14-year-old. Doesn't anybody not see that? That is just horrific within itself. Well, this is the question I'm asking is, they're refuting that relationship started at that age. I have no idea. I'm sure there wouldn't be. Little Miss Jacob says, "Oh wow, Dave, you're committed." Oh well, I mean, I got to read this thing, you know. Little Miss Jacob, let me know your thoughts. Hey, let me know if you want to come on. I wanted to get you on. We'll have to chat, but I wanted to specifically talk to you on another time, just get your full opinion on this stuff. But boy, we're just not going to make it to the end of this. Not tonight, at least. There's a lot of redundancies in this, which I totally understand in court documents, a lot of redundancies. So basically Jillian Michaels, Theo Vaughn, Your Mom and Dad's House, Joe Rogan, Howie Mandel, essentially, she's saying the same thing to all these different people. Owens responded 100% when asked if Mrs. Macron had a penis. Owens again boasted that Rogan was convinced of her claims. Mandel asked, "Do you get offered money?" Owens responded, "I got threatened first." So Howie Mandel asking good questions. Did they offer you money? She said, "I got threatened first." Owens falsely claimed that she hadn't done anything, and it hadn't even come out before the Macrons sent the December retraction demand. Mandel pressed Owens on whether she was actually offered money, and she begrudgingly admitted she was not. Owens said again that it was only supposed to be one episode. Then when I got this 100-page letter, I said, now we're doing a whole series. So what say you in the audience about Candace Owens admitting she lied there? Noons said, and be careful, a lot of child enthusiasts and PDF file defenders in this chat. No, I mean, I don't know. I'm not reading every comment, so I couldn't tell you for sure. But no, I just think if you're going to talk about anything in the law, you have to be specific, right? So if Brigitte groomed Emmanuel, that's a separate, that doesn't mean the defamation didn't exist. So even if you might say, but hey, due to karma, they deserve it. Well, maybe, but it doesn't mean that you can't still sue people for other things they said. Aaron said, Owens must have a penis because she has pretty big balls to carry this on when faced with this lawsuit. Yeah, I mean, this might be a post-pregnancy, you know how you have a baby, right? You get a little delusional, you're late on sleep. I mean, but it's just, this is absolutely ridiculous. Owens explained her central thesis to Mandel's audience. At the heart of the Macron thing, there's an entire pedo ring nebula that's around him. People who have worked for him that just keep getting arrested for pedo. Every LSA Palace scandal regarding pedo that's happening since he's been in office, something's not right. Owens then again falsely stated that the Macron was 14 years old, Brigitte was 40. So again, this is what keeps getting mentioned in the chat room. And again, I don't know how old he was and how old she was. Was he 15 and she was 39? That doesn't make it right. But let's get to the facts, right? You know what I mean? Malak says, Dave, please just admit your bias. It'll be a relief. Now, see, by the way, I have to make sure that my, can you guys see there I am. Now, listen, it's not a bias. It's called being skeptical. Do you know what I mean? It's not, what do I have against Candace Owens? I got nothing. I could care less. I'm not trying to kiss her ass. I'm glad I'm not in her shoes, but they're accusing her of lying about a lot of things. So to me, she'll have the chance to defend herself against these accusations, but let's not pretend like these aren't heavy accusations, right? It's pretty wild stuff they're claiming. Owens then appeared on the Tim Dillon show. Tim Dillon is an American stand-up comedian, so shares all of his big following. Tim Dillon started the show by telling Owens that he was asked about the series while checking into a hotel and said it had blown up. Owens replied, "Oh, everywhere. I mean, it is the most international thing I've ever done." Owens again displayed her ill will and bias against the Macrons, stating, "The funny thing is, if Emmanuel Macron had not sent me that letter threat, we were only going to do one episode." So the same thing over and over. We were only going to do one episode. To give credence to her false reporting, Owens continued, "And we just poured hours and hours and hours into just more research." So we've heard what Candace Owens has to say publicly, but what'll be interesting is what Candace Owens says in the documents, right? Because it's one thing to tell your audience, "Oh yeah, they threatened, they were going to pay me off," but it's like, what are you willing to admit under oath? What are you willing to admit in the court documents? That's really what it comes down to. Everyone accusing you of having a bias also has a bias and can't see. Yeah, I mean, everyone's got a bias, right? And by the way, this is just some mean comments in the chat. Sabrina says, "I love that you're covering this, Dave. I'm a fan of Candace, and I like to see another side from someone fair." Yeah. Hey, I'm known in my community to be pretty fair. I'm not trying to be rude to people. I'm not trying to judge people that believe this, you know? Sarah said, "Very, Dave." Yeah, someone said I'm not smart. You know, it's okay. Okie dokie. You know, I can't get mad at anybody. I'm trying to read some of these comments. Yaya says, "You are not biased. You have a minimum of intelligence in your brain." Okay. I like that name, Yaya. That's cute. But thank you for your comments either way. I do feel a little tired, though. Owens again lied that the Macrons never provided her with evidence that her claims were false. She said, "In order to reach that actual malice standard, you have to show that we acted in reckless disregard for the truth. You refused to say the truth. It was just a pompous 100-page, we don't have to answer whether or not Brigitte is a woman or a man." As Owens knew, the December retraction demand did, in fact, deny and disprove that Mrs. Macron was a man. So since I am of little intelligence, does this not worry people? Like, again, I don't know what the December retraction demand says, but if this provides her with reasonable information to disprove her claims, she's about to lose $100 million. Imagine being that wealthy. Imagine having your whole life taken care of. Imagine going to a restaurant and anything you want on the menu you can have. You want appetizers, you can't decide between the asparagus, this or the, get it all, the expensive steak. Now, all of a sudden, you have a case that could end it all. That would suck. Owens pretended to have additional evidence to prove her false claims, stating, "And it's so much crazier because there's stuff that I can't say on record just yet. I'll tell you off camera, but it's gotten even crazier." Owens again lied about the age difference between the Macrons, saying he's 14, she's 40. Soon after, Owens went even further, saying it's actually 48 and 14. Dylan responded, "It's illegal." Oh, that's because they no longer believe Brigitte Macron. If they're saying if Brigitte Macron was actually her brother, he would have been older. Owens repeated that Mrs. Macron engaged in identity theft. Winks in the chat. My whole thought about this is you're not going to win everybody over when you do these live streams with this new territory. But I think what's interesting is I can set my boundaries, be fair, really just be me. And that's an audition to the new people that want to check me out. And if they want to fuck with me, then, they can. And if they don't, there's really no harm lost. That's kind of the beauty of it all. So we are up to a pretty decent amount here. I wanted to share this with you. 139,876 subscribers. I will unlock another 30 minutes of the live stream if we can get that number up to 140,000. So there are a lot of new people in the chat. Let's see if we can make that number up and get to 140,000. Purple Yellow said Blake Lively lied about Justin Baldoni. Absolutely. And you know what? When it came to that lie, Justin Baldoni so far has proven way more evidence about those lies than Blake Lively has. You know what I mean? Justin Baldoni, had an audience of people that hated him based on what Blake Lively said. And again, very much like this, document that we have here where, you can't believe everything that's alleged because Blake Lively in her complaint to Justin alleged a hell of a lot of stuff. And then we got to see the truth kind of come out that a lot of it was fairy tale land and things like that. Again, thank you guys so much. Can we get up to 139,900? We're so close. Yeah, I'm here to share my opinion, and no one has to like it, but I'm pretty confident. Been around the block long enough that I usually present a pretty solid. I keep using that dumb phrase stress test, but it's like, look, if Candace Owens wants to win this thing, she's going to need a damn good reason for saying what she said. If everything that the Macrons are alleging they have done, which is send this December retraction demand and provide this kind of proof, Owens is in a lot of trouble. Now, could there be a scenario where the Macrons are bluffing here? I mean, this would be the most moronic thing in the world to do. It could, but it would be moronic because, they're exposing themselves to a whole crazy new audience, and it's like it's making this global, the Streisand effect times 1,000. So Paul said, "Can you explain some proof from your audience?" I don't know what that means. Yeah, so that's the thing with this is so far I don't know if there's anything I don't know if they have to provide exhibits for this opening case for this opening PDF here, but yeah, they're going to have to provide the December retraction demand. So we will go over it when it comes in. Owens, again, lied about the age difference, so we got all that. Owens further demonstrated her ill will towards the Macrons. Their lawyers are still calling my lawyers. They still asked for us to take down the series because they were afraid when Joe Rogan mentioned it recently. They made another phone call and were basically like, we could still sue you in the future, but maybe you just want to take it down. Stop with these phone calls. As I said to my lawyer, if they call again, we're doing a season 2 because I left a lot on the table. So it goes on and on and on. Low Mills, another $10. Thank you, Mr. Moneybags. Appreciate it. If I remember correctly on that episode, they were stating things in that retraction letter, but refused to answer the questions that she had sent to them. So actually, they never answered her. Low Mills, here's what you have to understand. You're responding as if everything Candace Owens told you is fact. Remember what I said. It's easier to fool people than tell them they were fooled. Now, I don't know the truth. I'm willing to admit I don't know the truth. But you're saying that Candace Owens says they didn't answer her questions. They're claiming in court, in a document, they answered all of her questions. So the question is, who's lying? That's what the question is. Who is lying? Sarah Wink said, sorry, trolls. No one is hiding anything. Spamming chat and insulting Dave isn't going to fly. Thank you, Sarah. I've never been less bothered by the insults. They're truly fine. It doesn't matter. It's whatever. We're cool. We're cool, folks. It's all good. Saturday night. Come on, folks. Let's see. Let's do some inventory. It is midnight. I am not going to go later than another hour. I'll probably wrap this up by 1. Just letting you guys, I appreciate everyone for sticking around. So I'm assuming we're at page 103. Maybe we do this again next Saturday if we don't finish it tonight. Brian Schwartz, $5. Said, hardly anyone heard from Candace's lawyer yet. They've been in conference the whole time. Yeah, look, we will for sure continue to cover this. You know, don't you hate it when people they stop covering it when their side loses? I assure you I don't have a side. If Candace Owens is on to something and there's some real, trust me when I say, from the heart of my heart, I have zero tolerance for abuse of any kind, especially of an innocent child. And if there's any sort of nefarious activity, nobody wants to punish those, cowards and abusers more than I would. Come on. You kidding me? I'm from New England. We have the Catholic Church. I'm raised Catholic. Come on. I just don't believe it. But I suggest this of everybody out there, leave grace for the ability to change my opinion when presented with new information. Michael Douay says, I'm a Frenchman and I support my First Lady. Sarar said sometimes, or someone who said that the chat's coming in too fast. Someone said a broken clock is right twice a day. I hear you on that one. So again, thank you guys all so much for the support. Thank you to our moderators, to Sarah. We don't always go live. I've been very busy. But can I show you guys something? Maybe I can't. You'll have to check out my Instagram. I got a new spotlight. You know, I do stand-up comedy. So if you guys haven't already, if you're new to the community, just make sure you hit subscribe, follow me on socials. If I have stand-up shows in your area, I'm actually going to be running a intimate monthly stand-up show at a record store here in Nashville. Hey, maybe Candace will come. I would have a hard time interviewing Candace. I don't see her doing too many interviews where she's called out. When she was on Joe Rogan, he really called her out. He was really, stress testing her. And I don't know if I would call her a grifter. I'm giving her the benefit of the doubt. That's all I can do. I cannot do anything more than give her the benefit of the doubt. But what I found was super interesting, and I'm not going to share it here. I'm going to make a separate video about it, was Dr. Drew. He's good friends with Candace. He thinks she was fed faulty information as a way to take her down. And if that is the case, all I can say is, if that is the case, it's like, you got to do your due diligence to not be a pawn to somebody else's agenda. But if somebody led Candace down the wrong path, she could use that as a defense. But so far, she's shown no sources other than these initial kind of characters. Pandora Fox says it's interesting how sensitive people are to Dave questioning a narrative. By the way, the Macrons bear the burden of proof, not Candace. Thanks, Dave. Yeah, that's the thing. Good point. And thanks again. And again, I have no. I trust me. Of all things, I have thin skin with certain things. This ain't it. We're cool. It's cool, folks. We have we've gotten 4,000 new subscribers, and I think our video last weekend had over 140,000 views. There'll be people that want to defend Candace, and I understand that. It's like she's family to you. You love her. You engage with her content. You have a parasocial relationship. I totally get that. I absolutely get that. I am here to just say, I don't know. And I could be wrong, but all I got is my intuition. And that's why we're here. So they discussed the MK Ultra and similar programs with Owens, describing them as mind control programs that were in America. They were all over the place. And these were programs that utilized, people into essentially slaves that could be programmed to do things, whether it was assassinate someone and not remember why, or who told you to do it, or be a sex slave, or perhaps in a Manchurian candidate fashion, run the government, run a country. Owens responded, that is who Emmanuel Macron is. Owens supported this with false claims that Macron's test scores were faked and that he did not perform well at Rothschild Bank and that he was like a protective Rothschild and they needed to kind of create this fake resume for him to make people think he was a genius. Owens said, this is what a Manchurian candidate would look like. These people tend to always be in drama classes. Owens repeated her theory that Mrs. Macron is not only a man who molested President Macron, but also his blood relative. She stated, my sense is Mrs. Macron is the missing uncle whose name is Jean-Michel, who was the godfather when Emmanuel Macron got his first communion at school, who's just missing. Dillon summed up Owens' claim, stating, so it's your belief that you've got Emmanuel Macron who goes through this program. He selected at a very young age to basically be some type of Manchurian candidate. And then at some point, Jean-Michel Trogneau becomes Brigitte, who then becomes a teacher. Owens responded, yeah, to further groom. He was groomed by Brigitte. There's no question. Owens' false statement. When you read it like that, you go, okay, it's a lot. There's a lot of things have to be happening here. D. Miller said, see, now this is the really batshit crazy stuff. How can you believe this? Candace don't even believe this. Shaking my head. Yeah, you can't get mad at people for not believing it. Nina says, Dr. Drew said, if she wins, it'll be the biggest miracle I've ever seen in the history of law. Yeah. Yeah. And again, Robert Barnes, the attorney, who's really good. I really like Robert Barnes. I didn't know too much of him because I don't cover law. I'm not a lawyer. I'm a comedian who finds this interesting. I'm not necessarily a cynic. I know more about Bigfoot than anyone out there. I'm a big Bigfoot guy. I love a good Sasquatch. I love I want to believe. I'm X-Files. You know, I want to believe. My first crush was Dana Scully. Anytime I see a woman in a trench coat, I feel flustered, okay? Low Mills, just to subscribe. Hey, and big shout out to Low Mills, which, by the way, goes to show we can agree to disagree. We can be on different sides of a story, and life goes on. Much respect to you, my good man or woman. I'm not sure. Sabby Chat with 10 Canadian bucks. Sabine here, longtime fan, many-time commenter. Good to see you, Sabine. You might have a new username. How great to have witnessed your evolution from Bachelor recaps to reading a 200-page lawsuit about the French First Lady. What a trip. Congrats on 140,000. Well, don't congratulate me too early. We're not quite there yet. But yeah, thanks again. I appreciate you. And good to see you. Yeah, wild times to be alive, right? You know, we still cover The Bachelor. It's just kind of boring. So, we've kind of moved on to other things. Owens' false statements in their reasonably foreseeable republication have harmed the Macron reputation. Okay, so now we get into how the Macrons were harmed, right? This is an important part. I don't know why this is lagging so much, but it is. Your browser has lost connection to your screen share audio. Oh, I don't need screen share. Let's go down to make me small because I'm having some lag issues. Candace can claim mentally ill, and that would be proven true. Yeah. Emily says, just ask her to prove Brigitte is a man. If Brigitte has had reassignment surgery and she's French, then she's a woman. Yeah, but Brigitte said she was born a woman. And the onus, and again, maybe Nina could let us know, Nina, the attorney, the onus is on Brigitte to prove defamation. So I would believe the number one way to prove that is for Brigitte Macron to prove she sent irrefutable proof to Candace Owens that she was born a woman, which maybe she hasn't. You know, I feel like if Brigitte Macron sent a blood sample or whatever to Candace Owens, that Candace Owens would have shut up. But it doesn't mean that she couldn't do that. Yeah. Okay. Owens' false and defamatory accusations and implications have caused and continue to cause substantial and irreparable damage to the Macrons. I believe that. The whole world thinks this is some scandal. Nina said, thank you, Nina, in a defamation case, the burden of proving the truth falls on the person being accused. So, yeah. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. I mean, that's why, because I've said, hey, look, you know, I've said this, that like, Brigitte Macron is going to have to prove her gender at birth. And people have said, oh, she doesn't have to prove anything. And I was like, yeah, but she also didn't have to sue for defamation. So it's like she's on the offensive here. Owens' defamatory accusations and implications were widely circulated, so we got all of that. So here is Candace says, wow, safe to say these past 28 days have been a record for us on YouTube. Thank you to everyone who has engaged with our content. And she got, 58 million views in the last 28 days. That is insane. That is a lot. Owens, I get about 1 to 2 million views, which I am very proud of, but that is a lot. All right. I like this. Is SRAAAR, are you from France? Just trying to confirm. He said, we use birth certificates to prove gender. Irrefutable evidence. That's why visa application, you show birth certificate and not DNA. Yeah, very interesting. Yeah, that's interesting stuff. I guess Candace is alleging that these things were faked, you know? She was alleging that the family has, you know, ties to people that can change these things. Wonderful Life says the Macrons didn't have to prove anything to Candace. Well, like I said, they kind of do because they're suing her, you know? But I understand your point. I understand your point. But, you know, it's like, listen, if someone told me if someone was making lies that I mean, I don't know, what's a good one? What's one that I could easily prove? If someone had a lie that I was like not actually who I said I was, and I wanted to sue them, I'd have to prove to them that they're lying. I don't know. You get the point. Lenny Boo says, I don't think a DNA test would stop Candace. I think she just move the goalpost, find another loophole to gaslight more. Yeah, maybe. Yeah. Calm says, what are we in Saudi Arabia now? No, I mean, I live in Tennessee. It's hot. It's as hot as the Middle East out here. But no, I hear you. This is not just viral in France, viral in America, viral in the UK. The story, it's even viral in Russia. People are now considering it as part of their political dialogue and analysis, judging Emmanuel Macron's current actions because the world is finding out about the person who groomed him. As discussed above, the series and its defamatory accusations have been recirculated by other media outlets and podcasters, reaching a massive global audience. The reputational harm to the Macrons is demonstrated by, among other things, numerous republications of Owens' false claims that have repeated and echoed defendants' false and defamatory accusations, thereby showing that the people who heard and read defendants' false and defamatory statements about the Macrons believe them. Defendants' defamatory accusations caused numerous individuals who heard or read them, both those who had held the Macrons in high regard and those who otherwise would have, as well as those with no awareness or opinion of the Macrons, to view them with contempt, to hold them in low regard, and to avoid associating or doing business with them, and to encourage others to avoid associating or doing business with them as well. The Macrons have publicly discussed the emotional harm they have suffered as a result of the conspiracy theories. At an International Women's Day event in Paris in February, President Macron told reporters that the worst thing is the false information and fabricated scenarios. People eventually believe them and disturb you, even in your intimacy. Defendants, by amplifying these conspiracies on a global scale and by purveying even more intimate and even more heinous theories of their own, have greatly exacerbated that harm. As a result of the false and defamatory accusations and implications published by defendants, the Macrons' reputation has been impugned. As a result of the false and defamatory accusations and implications published by defendants, the Macrons' relationships with other members of the government, potential political allies, and others have been undermined. As a result of the false and defamatory accusations and implications published by the defendants, confidence in the Macrons' integrity and fitness as political and governmental leaders has been undermined. In view of the foregoing, the Macrons are entitled to actual, presumed, and punitive damages in an amount to be specifically determined at trial. I really wish they pushed a number here. I would have loved to see what the number is. Count one, defamation, introduction episode. So they go through them all. I'm going to go through this part quicker because we already did this. So they introduce all of the defamatory claims, which they've already talked about from episode 1. Again, this is going to be a lot because they've already made all these claims. So count 2, false light, introduction episode. So they've got, and maybe someone with a law degree could help me out on this. They've got all of the counts and then all of the episodes with the accounts attached to it. So count 3, defamation by implication, introductory episode. So again, they've got all of the episodes and all of the counts. So it's obviously really redundant. Count 4, defamation episode 1. So now they go to defamation episode 1, and they're going to go basically count 5, false light episode 1. They're going to go through the statements are statements of false fact and are reasonably understood as statements of false fact. So it's defamation, it's false light, it's again, count 6, defamation by implication. So they end up having something like 20 different, accusations. Count 7, defamation episode 2. I mean, honestly, let's just go straight down to when they're done making these claims because this is all stuff we've already read. Count 17, defamation episode 5. I mean, they don't have to win on all of these, but let's see where they're at now. Oh, boy. Actually, this speeds it up a lot because count 20. 1. Count Dracula. What is it? Defamation. So they have 20 counts. And again, I'm not glazing over anything. As far as I know, we've already read all of this. Defendants publish the statements maliciously, willfully, wantonly, with common law malice, with actual malice, conscious, reckless, and willful indifferent. Count 21, false light, epilogue. So from the intro to the epilogue, she's getting sued. Yeah, just fascinating stuff. What's everyone doing tomorrow? You guys can have a good Sunday? I'm going to try to get some sleep. So prayer for relief. So hold on. Do we get it all? Defendants publish the implications maliciously, willfully, wantonly, with common law malice. I do believe a lot of this was done by Candace maliciously. I mean, she said, "You are a man. You're always a man." You know, she said things with a real negative tone. Yeah. Any last questions? Anyone? Let me know. AC said it's Sunday here in Australia. Thank you for the support. Yeah, it's I'm in Central Time Zone, so it's just past midnight. Oh, it's Sunday over here. And in view of the foregoing, President and Mrs. Macron are entitled to actual, presumed, and punitive damages in amounts to be specifically determined at trial. Wherefore, plaintiffs respectfully request that the court enter judgment in plaintiff's favor and against defendants jointly and severally as follows. Awarding the Macrons actual and presumed damages to be specifically determined at trial. Awarding the Macrons punitive and or exemplary damages. Awarding the Macrons all costs, disbursements, fees, and interests as authorized by law, and such other and additional remedies as the court may deem just and proper. A jury trial is demanded. So I didn't think we were going to get through all of this, but to be quite honest, the second half was really just all of the things we already read. So there you have it, folks. Nina says, let's go to Nina. I find it, by the way, is this the Nina that I know? I'm sorry. I only see your first name. So are you our Nina? Are you our Nina? I find it very cruel and dehumanizing. Say Brigitte Macron is a male to mock and make up with Times Man of the Year. This is very anti-women and transphobic. Oh, it assumes, here's what it does. Candace Owens is assuming, like, take all of the grooming and all of the other allegations, the conspiracy, this and that. Take that all aside. By Candace Owens taunting Brigitte as Man of the Year, that is cruel. It's mean. It's transphobic. It's a lot of things. It's so, and people have said, yeah, just admit it. It's funny. Trans people are already, this is where it's complicated, right? Because Brigitte Macron is alleging she was born a woman. I'm going to believe her until any evidence proves otherwise, right? What do I, you know what I mean? Why the hell not? Like, what do I care? But there are a lot of trans people that struggle with not being accepted in their communities. There's a lot of people that aren't out yet or haven't transitioned or whatever, gender dysphoria, they've got all, and then you see this play out and you see the mockery, and there's so much self-harm that is done by people that struggle with their own identity, that even if Candace wanted to make this accusation about the Rothschilds and this demonic cabal and whatnot, even if she made all those accusations, you could do it in a way that doesn't dehumanize Brigitte Macron or people that are trans. So even if, like I said, just so I'm not twisted, have any of my words twisted here, even if you're Brigitte Macron, you're born a woman, you know all of that. Imagine if your son or daughter struggles with their identity. Maybe they're in the closet, gay, and they see all of this, rhetoric and hatred, and you're a man, admit it. You're born a man, you're going to die a man. It's just like, I'm sorry, guys. I'm out on that. No, thanks. Candace, you got problems. That's how I feel. Candace will have her day in court. We'll cover it. Nina says, I don't believe it's true, but even if it is, imagine how trans people are ostracized, stigmatized, and treated like outcasts. Many commit suicide, and this type of harassment leads to self-harm. Exactly. So that's why on my channel, I try my best to not judge, but like, and trust me, a lot of people wanted me to cover this Candace Owens docuseries, and I refused to until it became a defamation lawsuit. And now it's something a little different. Mocha Matt, can you believe this? Mocha Matt says, "You are so woke, Dave." If this is being woke, so be it. If that's being woke, so be it. I like to say I've got empathy for people that struggle with, these types of issues. Absolutely. Candace is, hurt people. That, and I'm not going to play, I don't have the system right set up to play it, but like when Candace is pointing and wagging her fingers going, "You're born a man, you're going to die a man." It's like, who the fuck are you, Candace Owens? Who the fuck are you? That's how I feel. Bizarre stuff. Oh, we got a British 6:30 a.m. in UK. Been listening for hours. Early start to my Sunday. Thanks for eating 10 pounds from Tally. Tally-o! Well, thank you so much. And listen, folks, we're going to start to wrap this up. I did want to promote the podcast. A lot of people don't. I actually haven't really promoted this much, but I have a website that we built for the Rush Hour podcast. It's got all of the ways you can listen. It actually has updates. You can put your email address right there. Pops up and you'll get alerted when I have tour dates. I would like to perform in England. I'll tell you that much, but get on my email list. All of the updated videos are here. So you'll get my Candace video that I had from today. And you can get all of that at rushhourwithdave.com. But also you can get, more of my stand-up comedy email address. I'm going to have my merch and all of that. I don't have too much of that stuff up right now. But again, it's a nice home for all of my other content that I have there, from comedy videos to other things going on. And by the way, can I share something with you guys? I want to share this on, you know what? I'll have to do it on Patreon on Monday. I received a spotlight. You know what I'll do is I'll share it with you guys right here. I received a spotlight from Teresa, and this was me testing it in my living room today. So this is $1,000 light that was sent to me that I'm going to be able to use for some independent comedy shows. Absolutely. So that's me in the light. This light you could literally land a plane with this light. You have no idea how bright this light was. And this was sent to me by Teresa. It just arrived. Again, it's $1,000. I can't believe that she would send me this. So if you're new to our channel, we just have the most amazing people out there. So this was just me doing a lighting test tonight. I'm going to be using this for a stand-up show coming up in September. That's going to be at a record store. Do they even have record stores anymore? Who's buying records? Either way, whether you're in Australia, the United Kingdom, or wherever else people tuned in, I appreciate all you. Again, much thanks to Sarah, Bruce, Lauren, everybody who made this possible. And I'm just trying to read a few more of your comments. Sweet and Sassy says, "I don't think people understand how great are the claims against the Macrons that Candace made. This gender thing is the least of them. Candace has to prove they were murderers." Oh, guys. Yeah. So I don't know for sure what comes next. Maybe Nina could tell me. Bruce says, "Dave, I didn't think you would take it literally when I told you to get a bigger light panel." Well, listen, that light, can I show it to you guys? Hold on. I'm going to show you this light. Hold on 1 second. Don't go anywhere. Hold on. Wait a second. This light is so, I can't even, you have no idea, Bruce. Hold on. Hold on a second. Hold on. Go wide. This light is so big. What the fuck? Look at this light. This is literally the biggest, I mean, and look at this. You have, this light is like a bazooka, right? So you can turn it on and off. It's got like, you can change the spotlight over here, right? So you can like, you can open and close this whole piece of it right here. It's absolutely insane. Follow spot 200 ST. So this is literally, it's literally the type of light you're going to, like, I could shoot a stand-up show from a mile away with that thing, and I will. So that's, if anyone's wondering, we don't mess around. I know my screen's been lagging all day. I'm going to blame StreamYard. It is a subpar quality service. Tony says, are you going to train Augie to be your light guy? Yeah. JJ said, what's the subscriber count at? Let's take a look. You know, we didn't gain many subscribers tonight doing this. 139,885. Let's see if that kicks up at all. Let me see if we can get this number. 139,885. So we that means we're just, you know, we're not being featured in the YouTube algorithm, but chances are, I mean, it's late at night. Chances are this will perform well because I don't think anybody's read this case. CMP said, prove you are a man, Dave. Actually, you know what's funny? I'll just tell you this funny story. You know, when you make content, people like always, they you know, one of the ways people attack you is they'll call you like beta, like soy boy. Someone called me low testosterone. I got my testosterone checked because I was turning 40 and I wanted to see where it was at, and they called me back and they told me my numbers were abnormal. And then they told me that my testosterone was too high. And I told my wife that, and she thought I was kidding. So yeah, apparently I've got high test. And so I went, so they wanted me to come back for a second blood test. They said, we got to test you again. This time, don't drink any coffee, come this way, whatever. And I go back, the second blood test, my numbers went higher. I think it's all of the Diet Cherry Coke. I think this is, I don't know, I don't want to be sued, but I think the Diet Cherry Coke leads to high testosterone. So yeah, big problems I have. I'm going to go watch some Bigfoot documentaries. Does anyone have any Bigfoot documentaries they want to recommend me? I usually fall asleep. There's something about Bigfoot that makes me fall asleep. You know what it is? It's a bunch of old men sharing very boring stories. You know, I went for a hike in the early 90s and that, you know, next thing you know, I'm passed out. But yeah, we've got all of the lighting you could imagine. We've got it all, folks. Literally. I am the most well-lit person out there. I've got, if you're new here, I mean, we don't mess around. I've got this app on my phone that is connected to Wi-Fi, which turns off all of my lights. So I do that, you know, turn that back on. Hold on. So when I walk into my studio, I can like turn my lights on before I walk in, so it feels professional. I mean, we've just you know, I'm a fortunate man. I'm very happy for all the people that have supported me. It's been quite a journey. For those that have been around for a while, they know. Been quite a journey. All right. Well, we made it. And thank you guys all so much. Have a good evening. And again, Sarah said, you've stepped up your game over the years. Well, people keep sending me lights. So what am I going to do? I'm going to eat some popcorn and I'm going to go rest my throat up. CMP says, it says I have too much testosterone. It does not prove he is a man. Yeah, I mean, I have no proof that I don't have any proof I can share with you that won't get my video kicked off of YouTube, if you know what I mean. But with that said, that's enough proof for me. If you guys want to start a conspiracy that I'm actually a woman, I'm okay with it. It doesn't bother me. My son August looks just like me. But anyhow, I appreciate everybody. That's going to do it for me. It's time for Bigfoot and macaroni and cheese. Once again, appreciate all of you. Thanks for sharing the love. Even if there's anyone in the chat that's rude, I know everyone's trying their best. We'll get around to you. And much love to you. Have a good rest of your weekend. I'll be back Monday morning, as I am all week, twice a day, every day with your Rush Hour podcast. We'll see you then. Good night, everybody. Or if you're in Australia, good top of the morning to you, whatever the hell. All right. Bye, everybody.